Doing the kicking off will be Jan Stenerud. Les Steckel, first year head coach, Minnesota Vikings, replaced the legend up in the frozen tundra of Viking land, Bud Grant, after 17 seasons for Bud. He was the head coach of the Vikings 1967 through 1983, and of course, what a great record he compiled with the Vikings, Bud Grant. 151 wins, 87 losses, 5 ties, and in 17 regular seasons, Grant had the Vikings into the playoffs 12 times. He took them to 4 Super Bowls, so Les Steckel's got some large shoes to fill.
He certainly does, but I think he's capable of doing that.
Marion Campbell, second season head coach at Philadelphia, replacing Dick Vermeil. Vermeil taking the Eagles to the Super Bowl in 1980 against the then Oakland Raiders, and of course the Swamp Fox, as he's known. Marion Campbell, a key cog in that Super Bowl team because he was the defensive coordinator for some 6 seasons, and during those 6 seasons when Marion shored up the defense for Dick Vermeil, the Eagles allowed the fewest points in the NFL, averaging just 15.8 points allowed. You're looking at Jan Stenerud out of Montana State. Went there on a skiing scholarship. The all-time league scorer in the National Football League. Back deep, Joe Hayes, number 84, the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're running a little bit late, but we're just about set to tee it up, partner.
That's right. We should expect a good physical football game today. Both teams need this win bad because they don't want to start the season with the 0-2 record. So if they go 1-1, if either team goes 1-1 today, it's a plus for their football team.
Stenerud boots from the 35. It's a low, wobbly kick. Hits on the 15, bounces over Andre Waters, and he fields in the end zone. The rookie from Cheney State made a rookie mistake. Should have come up and fielded the ball cleanly. But no harm, no foul, and the Eagles will break 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. The veteran Juan Jaworski at quarterback. He has a healthy Wilbert Montgomery back, but you see Melvin Hooper gets the start instead of Mike Quick. Kenny Jackson, the rookie out of Penn State, he's exciting. John Spagnola, tight end. He's one of the best receivers and blockers for the Eagles. He is back healthy as well. Some problems, though, on the offensive line, Drew.
Well, they're not set. They've got a lot of players injured, and they're a makeshift offensive line for this game.
Kenny Jackson out wide to the left. The backs are split. Hubie Oliver, the fullback, 34. Wilbert Montgomery, the halfback, number 31. And Jaworski puts it up on 1st and 10. Safety valve. Hubie Oliver out of the backfield. He's known as the Rock Man, and he bangs his way up across the 27-yard line. It brings up 2nd and 3. The 3-4 defense of the Minnesota Vikings shored up by former Eagle Charlie Johnson in the middle. At linebacker, of course, Matt Blair, the great one. He's retired. Robin Senline filling some large shoes there. He's done a good job. And Scott Studwell, very active in the middle. Freddie Neal. The secondary, some problems. Their number 1 draft choice of last year, Joey Browner, being benched. Carl Lee gets the job. It's his to win or lose this afternoon. There's what Jaworski did last week against the New York Giants. Too little, too late, though. They were behind big at halftime and couldn't quite catch up.
Right. Well, they played a good football game in the second half, and they had to come back, and in the coming back, they just couldn't get the ball back in the last 5 minutes. Their defense wouldn't give it up, and just made some problems for them.
I guess they've got to change the battery in the 30-second clock. They'll wind down and put in a new cell or two. Short yardage situation for the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course they come in with some injuries. Steve Kenny, sprained ankle last week against the Giants. Dean Maraldi at tackle, a twisted knee. You saw the series record, which the Vikings lead, 8 victories to 1. Jackson out wide to the right side. Now he shifts the backs. Oliver along with Wilbert Montgomery. Hoover out wide left. Kenny Jackson at the 42-yard line. Incomplete. In and out of his arms right in front of the Minnesota Viking bench. Carl Lee, who's getting his first start, back there on the coverage. As you look at that play develop right in front of the Minnesota bench, the Eagles used to be on this side of the stadium. They switched over to the other side. How come?
Well, I guess they wanted to get on TV. The TV cameras are on this side, so all the Eagles can get face shots now instead of neck shots. So I guess it's important to them.
How about those late season games in December, though? Because now where the Eagles are, they're over in the sun, so the visiting team, they'll be a little colder.
That's right, and I know what that sideline is like over there. It gets pretty cold on that side of the field.
2nd and a short 2 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Spagnola and Cab, the double tights. Pitch back, Wilbert Montgomery. First down, Philadelphia across the 30-yard line. Scott Studwell came up to make the tackle. Blocking on the right side by Leonard Mitchell. In there for Jerry Sizemore and Ron Baker. Yeah, talking to Wilbert Montgomery at the Eagles practice on Friday, he said, we just did not have the good concentration today. He was concerned that a somewhat lackadaisical practice on Philadelphia's part might carry over to game time.
You know, sometimes on Fridays when you have those practices, I know in Dallas when we had those practices, sometimes the best games we played that following Sunday is when we didn't have good practices. So it really isn't a good indication of what's going to happen on Sunday.
Slot to the left, Jackson outside, Hoover inside, motion by Montgomery across. Jaworski will throw on first down again. Penalty flag down. Looks like a holding call. It's Charlie Johnson with a sack. The former Philadelphia Eagle pressured by Doug Martin.
Time Jaworski was looking for Wilbert Montgomery. You know, Wilbert Montgomery is an excellent receiver downfield. He wanted to play wide receiver, but Wilbert Montgomery is not one to rock the boat, and he's satisfied playing running back, and I think the main thing for him is he wants to be on the football field. But he ran a corner route on that play, and Jaworski just couldn't find him. And we got a lot of penalties on this play.
Last week against the Giants, Wilbert had 4 catches, 47 yards.
Holding, 74, 10 yards, still first down.
That is Leonard Mitchell, a first-round draft pick of Philadelphia out of Houston, actually signed on as a defensive player, switched over to the offensive line. Let's see if we can pick up the holding call.
You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, Jim, Leonard Mitchell is drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles as a defensive lineman. His second year at offensive tackle, and he just gets a good hold of Doug Martin there. And
nickel back in for the Vikings, Rufus Bess. Motion across, Hubie Oliver. Convoy for Wilbert Montgomery. Across the 30-yard line. Back to the original line of scrimmage. Mark Mullaney in there in the hit defensively for the Minnesota Vikings.
You know, Jim, if the Vikings could get Wilbert Montgomery on the same track as he was in about 3 or 4 years ago, before all the injuries became a problem for him, then they're going to be a good football team. He's the one that adds a lot of dimension to their offense.
There's what he did against the New York Giants last week. But, of course, not a true indication because the Eagles had to throw the ball most of the second half.
That's right. Wilbert was disappointed he didn't touch the football more, but when you're behind by 21 points at halftime, 3 and 4 yards a clip is not going to get you back in the football game.
Jaworski looks at 2nd and 11 from his own 30-yard line. Jackson left, Hoover right. Montgomery coming at you. Upended at the 37-yard line. Tommy Hannon made the tackle. You know, in talking with the Vikings as they arrived at their hotel last night, Scott Studwell was very concerned about Wilbert Montgomery having a big game against him.
Well, he knows what Wilbert Montgomery can do. He knows he's an effective back. He's one of the top backs in the National Football League. He just was beset or had problems with injuries for the last couple years, and now he's healthy. When Wilbert Montgomery is healthy, he's very effective.
You know Wilbert's wife, Cheryl, pretty well. She's a former Dallas Cowboy cheerleader.
That's right. A lot of those pass routes, when I was winded, I would look to her, and she would give me inspiration.
Double tight end for Jaworski and the Eagles. Spagnola and Cab are in there. Back, Montgomery and Hubie Oliver. Hubie Oliver, the rock man from Arizona, bangs his way close to the 40-yard line, but not nearly enough for first down. So we'll see the Eagles now, and a change in punters for Philadelphia. Max Runiger is gone. Marion Campbell made a lot of personnel changes this year. Michael Horan out of Long Beach State averages over 50 yards per punt.
He's tough. It makes him tough. He's a left-footed punter, so the spin of the ball is different, and it drops a little quicker into the receiver's arms. And let's see if they're going to have any trouble feeling this punt.
Rufus Bess back deep, awaits at the Minnesota 20-yard line. Vikings first possession coming up. If he can get this cleanly, Bess approaches. It's a short, wobbly kick, and it takes a Minnesota bounce backwards at the 36-yard line where the Eagles down it. So Tommy Kramer and the Minnesota Vikings will break out 1st and 10. It's their first possession. It's 0-0. The Vikings and the Eagles early in the first quarter.
Ask him.
And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The Liberty Bells, when you played here at Veterans Stadium, did you ever sneak a peek?
Yeah, they're very distracting. They always put them right behind the visiting team's bench to try to break your concentration. It usually works.
Minnesota Vikings start 1st and 10 from their own 36-yard line. Let's take a look at the offense. Now, Tommy Kramer back healthy. Ted Brown, you notice, of course, Darren Nelson not in there. How about Alfred Anderson? 3-4 days ago, he figures to be sitting on the bench. He finds himself starting, and now he's starting at a different position.
That's right, and he was a high school quarterback in Texas. Good one too.
Sammy White out wide to the left side. Mike Jones deployed to the top of your screen. Kramer bends in, gives the ball to Ted Brown, and Brown bangs across the 40, bowls his way up to the 43. Good blocking on the left side by Curtis Rouse and Steve Riley. Herm Edwards and Wes Hopkins over there defensively for Philadelphia.
Well, Jim, just like Philadelphia, Minnesota depends a lot on Ted Brown.
Offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings, they've got some problems too, because all kinds of pressure put on Tommy Kramer last week in that devastating loss to San Diego. You notice Joe Sensor is not there. Steve Jordan gets the call at tight end. Mike Jones comes out wide to the left side, and Sammy White, 9-year veteran from Grambling, at the top of your screen. Motion across, that's Mike Mularkey. Kramer's first aerial. He's got Sammy White that's hammered loose at the 41 of Philadelphia. Wilson was back there on the coverage, but that was a catchable ball for Sammy White.
Yeah, it was, and I'm surprised to see Sammy dropped it. He dropped one last week, and he complained last week because he wasn't getting any action, and get action early here. It just runs a little slanting route. Ball is thrown right there, and Sammy just kind of jumped, and when you jump, you lose concentration because your eyes move, and receiver coaches like to tell receivers to keep their feet on the ground unless it's necessary to jump up to catch the football. But that's unlike the seasoned veteran like Sammy White to drop a pass that wide open.
Dropped the only one that was thrown to him last week. You can't have much of a Viking offense unless you got Sammy White involved.
That's right.
3rd and 3. Kramer with lots of time, and he's got his man looping out Leo Lewis out of Missouri. That should be a Minnesota first down comfortably. Watch the coverage.
Good route by Lewis. He's getting man-to-man coverage. He just pushes the cornerback deep. Elbert fouls and comes back to the sideline to catch the ball. He knows where the first down is. He's only needed 3 yards. Got 7 on the play. You
wide receivers like to see cornerbacks playing off you like that.
Yeah, we like to see a big cushion there, and that time Fowles was giving Lewis a big cushion to work with.
1st and 10, Minnesota from midfield. Dwight Collins, the rookie from Pittsburgh, wide to the left side. Pitch back. This is Alfred Anderson. First carry, and he makes a nice move. Picks up 7, 2nd and 3. Jerry Robinson came crashing over to wrestle him out of bounds. 3-4 defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Nose tackle Kenny Clark, who ironically replaced Charlie Johnson, who's now a Minnesota Viking, and Dennis Bigfoot Harrison. What's he? 15 triple E?
Yeah, size 15. They have a problem if he loses those shoes.
The linebackers, a good core. They're very active. They hope that Joel Williams can regain the intensity he had 2 years ago as an Atlanta Falcon. And the secondary, some holes there, and Drew will talk about that as the telecast unfolds. 2nd and 3. Kramer up top again. Lots of time again in the backfield. It's Steve Jordan. He was the man across, and that's a first down for Minnesota down at the 31. Reggie Wilkes on the coverage. And you've seen these Philadelphia fans get restless lots of times early in a ball game.
Yeah, we're restless right now, and the Boo Birds are definitely out here. They kind of live in Vet Stadium here, and they're always here. And Philadelphia doesn't play well. The fans responded in a negative way.
Tommy Kramer, when he's hot, can pick a secondary apart, and with Philadelphia's defensive problems, if he gets the time to throw the football, he could have a field day.
That's right, and so far he's getting that time, getting good protection to throw the football.
And the Eagles are not a blitzing team.
No, they're not. They're very conservative in their defensive schemes.
Not a good week for Tommy last week. No protection, and he admitted, as he told Drew Pearson, his timing was a little bit off. Teddy Brown sweeps left. Good pursuit that time. Wes Hopkins came up, made the tackle, number 48.
Well, this is what happens when you only find out you're going to be a fullback 3 days ago, and you come in here in the NFL trying to block as a rookie. You miss the block there. You can see Alfred Anderson missed that block on Wes Hopkins, and I guarantee you got to block Wes Hopkins because he'll put a hat on your head.
Wes Hopkins, 2nd round pick of Philadelphia out of SMU. His favorite athlete is?
Drew Pearson.
That's it.
I've known Wes ever since he was in the ninth grade. He used to come over my house and eat barbecue all the time.
Tommy Kramer saw that 30-second clock ticking down, so on 2nd and 8, he decided to take a timeout. Vikings and Eagles scoreless midway through quarter 1 from Vet Stadium.
Look who's entered the personal computer game now.
Along with Drew Pearson, I'm Jim Kelly, and welcome back to Veterans Stadium here in Philadelphia. It's been scoreless so far. The Vikings initial possession and obviously deepest penetration of the football game down to the 27 of Philadelphia, 2nd and 8. What do the wide receivers like to have called back in the huddle?
Well, looks on a 2nd and 8 situation, looks like a passing situation, and the receivers are begging for the ball in this situation. It looks like an in route over the middle against Philadelphia's defense because they play their zones with work in this situation.
Danger to the left, Sammy White and Mike Jones, motioned by Jones across. They fake the end around. Kramer goes airborne. Here come the Eagles. Kramer dumps it off. He's got Brown out of the backfield. Brown across the 25. And he just lumbers out of bounds at about the 23-yard line. A pickup of 5.
He must have pulled something on that play. He's down.
You know, it's very similar to what happened a week ago to Kurt Warner in Seattle. You could see the injury to Kurt as he tried to stretch for extra yardage. You could see Kurt Warner's knee pop, and let's see if we can see what happens to Ted Brown as he tries to stretch it.
Jim, this is the type of things that happen on AstroTurf. AstroTurf is great to play on when it's dry, but the footing is real sure, and you a lot of times get your foot caught in the turf. And Ted there is just standing there. I don't know what happened. He looks fine, and all of a sudden he just pulls up. He better hurry up and get out of bounds because these Eagles are coming after him. He's still down on the sideline.
3rd and about 2.5. Pitch back, sweeping right is Allen Rice, and he is very close to first down yardage at the 20 of Philadelphia. Wilson in there in the tackle, the free agent out of Vanderbilt, who gets the start in place of Drew Pearson's old pal, Roynell Young.
Brown is up and he's moving, but it doesn't look good at this point. Might have just caught a cramp, just a little tightness in his leg. Hopefully that's all it is.
Each stadium that has artificial surface, each artificial surface has different characteristics.
That's right. A lot of time the grain goes different on some surfaces, and depends on how much that surface is used, if it's used for baseball and football. As we see the St. Louis score, they're doing good over Buffalo.
Chicago gets a field goal 38 yards out from Bob Thomas to go up over the Broncos. Detroit lost a tough game to San Francisco a week ago. They take a 7-0 lead, 9-yard touchdown run. Who do you suppose ran it in?
Billy Sims, of course.
Out of the hold of Steve Dills, the 18-year veteran Jan Stenerud. 38-yard try coming out, hash mark to the far side. Good hold by Dills after a bad snap, and Stenerud is perfect. Jan Stenerud, who had field goals in 5 of the Green Bay Packers' 8 wins last year, 2 of them in overtime, puts Minnesota up 3-0. You know, when you think of the Vikings as far as the place kicking is concerned, you think of Benny Ricardo. He was waived this year. He pulled a hamstring muscle his first day of camp. Then he had some calcium deposits on his back. But Benny Ricardo was a good kicker for the Vikings. And 8 wins last year for Minnesota. 6 of those victories were decided by Benny Ricardo's right foot. But when the injury occurred, Les Steffel wasted no time and went out and got the 18-year veteran Jan Stenerud, who bangs it 4 yards deep in the end zone to Joe Hayes, who decides to bring it out. Hayes across the 20-yard line. Dangerous play.
Well, Joe Hayes had his problems back there last week. He fumbled 2 kickoffs. The Eagles did recover the fumbles, but it gave the Eagles bad field position, and he brought this one out with a good field position.
Well, as we traveled from the Eagles practice to the Vikings hotel yesterday, we were able to catch a little bit of that with Pat Summerall and Tony Trabert. What a great match that was with Lendl and Cash, and McEnroe and Connors. You can watch them play all day. Yeah, sets up a great final between the numbers 1 and 2 seeds, McEnroe and Lendl. I guess with those two playing the way they can sometimes get spirited, Jim Tunney might have to go over there and referee that match, huh?
That's right.
Eagles' second possession. They start to cross their own 20. They trail 3-zip. Kenny Jackson. Loose football. And they say the whistle had blown. Eagles get a big break.
That was a good pop on Kenny Jackson. #1 draft choice from Penn State. Tackled by Mark Stewart on the play. Mark Stewart's a very good athlete. Ran a 9.600 in high school. He plays linebacker at 6'2", 232.
Kenny Jackson, what a personable young man, very articulate. Asked him what the biggest adjustment was he had to make from college to pro ball, and he said in college they try to hide the fact that it's actually a job. He said actually in the pros, he said it's a 9-to-5 job 7 days a week, and they never let you forget it. 2nd and 12. Little trap to Hubie Oliver. And Rockman pulls his way to the 27 in the grasp of Freddie McNeil.
The Eagle running game, which had problems last year, is getting off to a good start today.
Last week, as far as rushing goes, Hubie Oliver had 2 carries for just 7 yards. There's what he's done in his career since coming out of Arizona. Third and a short 2 for Philadelphia. Out wide to the left side. Melvin Hoover, Jackson to the near side. Still have not seen John Spagnola involved at tight end. Well, Doug Martin wanted the football, and he wanted a piece of Jaworski.
I think he was offsides. It's a good move, though, but nobody was ready for it. Martin coming off. Defensive lineman's got to watch the football. Jaworski's good at changing cadence, changing his rhythm to throw the defense off. But if you watch that football, it shouldn't cause you any problems.
Doug Martin led the Vikings in sacks for the 3rd consecutive year last year. Maybe that's why, that quick start.
Well, he gets off the ball. He's very quick. He's not that big. He's big, but he's not that big for a defensive lineman. But he gets off the ball quick, and he has excellent strength and quickness.
He's pretty versatile, too, Drew. He played left end in the 3-4, and then he goes over and plays left tackle in the 4-3.
Very valuable to the Viking defensive schemes.
1st and 10 after the penalty. Kenny Jackson to the top of the screen. Hoover to the near side. Backs are split again. Montgomery and Hubie Oliver. Incomplete at the 38-yard line. Mark Mullaney, the man that deflected at the line of scrimmage. Crowd is booing because there was some contact, but that was after the ball had been deflected.
But once that ball is deflected, it's open season on any receiver out there. Once that ball is touched and is floating around there. We got word on Ted Brown that he has a bruised thigh. They're not sure if he's going to return for today.
What does that do to a quarterback in terms of his game plan, perhaps? All of a sudden he looks around, Ted Brown is not in there. Darren Nelson is not in there. He says, wait a minute.
Well, it's got to hurt Minnesota. There's no question about that. Ted Brown is very valuable to their offensive philosophies.
2nd and 10. Jaworski goes airborne. Wide open over the middle. First down. Mel Hoover. Big catch at midfield. A pickup of 17 yards. Tommy Hannon on the hit.
Second down situation here, and passing down, but they don't use the shotgun here. Jaworski gets good protection to throw the football and just finds Hoover over the middle. Hoover's filling in for Mike Quick. Penalty on the play, but it's going to go against the Vikings.
Mel Hoover out of Arizona State. His average last year, 22 yards per catch, was the highest among the Eagle receivers, and coaches say he actually was a strong challenger for a starting berth.
Added to the end of the run. First down.
15 yards tacked on after the catch. Late hit, so it's the Eagles' deepest penetration. They start from the 35 of Minnesota now, 1st and 10. They trail 3-0 by virtue of that Jan Stenerud 38-yard field goal.
Well, I talked to Marion Campbell yesterday, and they wanted to open up their offense. Ted Marshall-Broder is their new offensive coordinator, and he's doing different things with their offense. As we can see here today so far, the Eagles are throwing a lot on first down, opening things up.
That's the last regular season meeting between the Vikings and Philadelphia. Wide receivers left and right. Jackson top of the screen. Hoover to the bottom. Play action fake to Montgomery. Jaworski fires over the middle, and he's got Kenny Jackson at the 18-yard line. The rookie from Penn State.
Well, those are the toughest ones to catch, those ones over the middle. When I used to play, I used to call that the Drew zone. A lot of receivers don't like to go in there. Everybody can go deep. But see how he breaks down his route? He works the zone coverage, and he gets the little bump and feels the area. And Jaworski's got one of the strongest arms in the National Football League. He can throw that ball inside. Eagles are moving.
In talking to Kenny Jackson at the Eagles practice, I asked him who's been the biggest help to him, and he said Ron Jaworski. He tries to build your confidence up all the time.
Well, you're supposed to say that. You know, the quarterback's always your best buddy.
3rd and 10, Philadelphia. Hubie Oliver blocking inside. Petey Crow, Dean Miraldi, and Doug Martin was there to make the tackle.
Well, the question becomes now is we got the ball down here inside the 20. Can we push it in the end zone? We don't want to settle for a field goal. We want to go for the touchdown. Let's see if Philadelphia can get that ball in the end zone. If they keep throwing the ball like they are, they'll get it in there.
Line of scrimmage, the 12-yard line. Kenny Jackson goes out to the top of your screen. Hoover to the bottom side. Jaworski, as he bends in, 4 for 6, 41 yards. Wilbert Montgomery hammers his way down to the 10, but not much doing. The hole sealed off by Freddie McNeil.
What that does, Jim, is it creates a tough situation for the third down play. You got third and about 3 or 4, and it's a tough situation, tough play to call in this situation. Usually look for your tight end. Try to work him over the middle. He picks up if he gets linebacker coverage.
3rd and 4 for Philadelphia. There is Marion Campbell and what he's done in 2 seasons as the head coach here in Philadelphia. He was a Philadelphia Eagle defensive lineman in 1956. Came over from San Francisco, and he played with the Eagles in the championship team back in 1960. Slot to the left side. Jaworski releases to Montgomery, and incomplete at the 4. Wilbert, like a volleyball, batted it around and just could not hang on. You don't see Wilbert Montgomery drop too many like that.
He's an excellent receiver, and he usually a sure-handed receiver, and he's got the speed to work on linebackers. It's a good play in this situation because it's a good safe pass. Jaworski jets it away, and Montgomery bobbles it, and you think you're going to get it on that second tip, but sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't.
Paul McFadden, the rookie out of Youngstown State. Eagles top-heavy with Penguins from Youngstown State. That's where Ronnie Jaworski went. And McFadden said, boy, it's great having a former schoolmate here. He made him feel right at home. McFadden, of course, replaces the departed Tony Franklin. Out of the hold of Ron Jaworski, a 27-yard try for the barefoot boy, and the kick is good. So one barefoot boy replaces another. Tony Franklin said he would have sat out the year rather than play another year in Philadelphia, and Coach Marion Campbell told us yesterday that would not have been his choice. The Eagles and the Vikings deadlocked at 3 apiece. First quarter winding down. Paul McFadden will tee it from the 35. Rufus Best, number 21, is back deep for the Minnesota Vikings along with Alfred Anderson. He's getting a workout. A game he didn't expect to play in.
Well, he is. He's a good athlete. He can handle the situation.
Short, wobbly kick goes out of bounds at the 10-yard line. So we'll do it again from the 30. You know, some of the Eagles that you and I both talked to on Friday said it was important, they thought, mentally, not to fall behind. They would like to get out to a little bit of a lead and then be able to play a little more relaxed.
That's right. That's what happened in the New York game. They fell behind and had trouble coming back, and it just changes the complexion of their game plan. So now they want to get a lead and see if they can stick to their game plan and win a football game.
Looks like another infraction on the kickoff in addition to the kick that went out of bounds. So we'll check with Jim Tunney after the officials straighten this one out.
Jim Tunney's getting a good workout so far early in the first quarter.
We've got 3:53 left to go in that first quarter, and so far 2 field goals. 38 yards from Jan Stenerud, 27
We have
from
a double
Paul McFadden.
foul. Kickoff out of bounds is penalized 5 yards, but it's nullified because of the personal foul against 58. The personal foul will be penalized from the 35. We will kick off from the 50.
I guess a personal foul is more important than kicking out of bounds, right?
I guess so.
That is Walker Lee Ashley from Penn State. Personal foul, very costly. Now the kickoff. When you see a kicker line up at the 50-yard line, do you want him to kick it high and maybe give you bad field position, or just want him to kick it in the end zone?
Well, you want to kick it high and hope your coverage can get down there under it and hopefully get the Vikings to start this particular drive inside their own 20-yard line.
How about an onside kick? Not a bad time for the element.
Not a bad time. That's a good suggestion there. You ever coached before?
I got enough problems up here. Squib kick into the end zone. There will be no run back. Rufus Best watches it sail through the end zone. So Marion Campbell does not want any coaching help and doesn't need any. Next Sunday here on CBS, many of you will see the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons, or the much improved Chicago Bears against the always explosive Green Bay Packers. It all starts, of course, with the NFL today. And then our doubleheader game, a man that has played in so many of those confrontations, the Eagles and the Cowboys. And that's always you strap your helmet on pretty well.
That's right. Interesting note there. Howard Carmichael, who's such a problem, a thorn in the side of the Dallas Cowboys for so many years, is now a Dallas Cowboy playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. That should be interesting.
Cowboys hurting at wide receiver. They've got Doug Donnelly, who had a great Monday night effort, but of course with the retirement of my partner Drew Pearson and the trading of Butch Johnson, they're a little thin in the receiving corps. First and 10, Tommy Kramer. A little misdirection to Alfred Anderson, Eagles not buying, and here comes a penalty flag from. He threw that one almost as far as Tommy Kramer's first pass.
He's got a pretty good arm, that referee. A lot of penalties, a little sloppy in the early goings of this game. Teams have to settle down and get within the flow. They can't get anything going with these penalties.
Costly holding call. Vikings hurting themselves with mistakes now. The personal foul on the kickoff cost them 15 yards, and now a holding call. Joel Williams, the man that made the tackle there on Alfred Anderson. And as you think about Joel Williams, how about the intensity? Marion Campbell trying to get Joel back to where he was 2 years ago.
Oh, when Joel played
hands during the run, number 66, penalized half the distance, 10 yards, still first down.
That's fourth penalty, 45 yards against the Vikes, partner.
Well, Joel, when he was with Atlanta, he was a great sacker. Whoa, there's a big score there. The New York Giants up on my old team, the Dallas Cowboys, 14-0 early in the first quarter. Phil Simms must be hot again.
He picked up right where he left off, Simms did last week against these Eagles. A 62-yarder to Byron Williams, and then a 16-yarder to Linnell Manuel. So it's 14-0 Giants, and you saw the Bengals score as well. And of course, Dallas, the second half of our doubleheader game next week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Complete out of the backfield at the 15-yard line, the rookie from Baylor, Alan Rice. Anthony Griggs and Joel Williams, as they say, in the vicinity.
Well, we're talking about Joel Williams when he was with Atlanta. It was a great blitzer, played with a lot of intensity, but it just hasn't been happening here for him in Philadelphia, and he gets worked on there by the rookie Rice. It's a short game, but effective pass.
Well, Marion Campbell said that Joel was really hampered by his late arrival here, and then, of course, he had to learn the new system. Then he had the injury, but if he can get him back to the way he played with what they call him, the grits blitz down there.
Yeah, he was tough.
Kramer.
Philadelphia does blitz us.
4 out of 5. 32 yards for Tommy. Out of the backfield, that's approaching the 25-yard line. Alan Rice once again. Anthony Griggs, the man that was in there on the tackle. Alan Rice, the rookie, and he was a teammate of Alfred Anderson's at the University of Tennessee. Or Baylor?
That's right, at Baylor. They were teammates, and they didn't play that much in the same backfield. They kind of played the same position, but they're both effective. Alan Rice, the 5th-round draft choice to make the team.
3rd and 4 for the Minnesota Vikings. 2:25 left the first quarter. We're tied at 3. Slot formation to the right side. The tight end, Steve Jordan, 83. White and Jones. Deployed to the top. Motion coming near you is Mike Jones. Incomplete in front of the Viking bench at the 45. Mike Jones, I think he just mistimed his jump a little bit.
I think so. The ball, you got to throw it with a lot of force on it. Kramer brought it in there, but it looked like it was a little overthrown there. Would have been a heck of a catch if Jones could have came down.
Greg Coleman back to do the punting. 8-year veteran from Florida A&M, averaging about 42.5 yards per kick. Cooper, 21, back deep for Philadelphia. That's what Kramer did last week. He had a busy afternoon against San Diego. And against the San Diego Chargers, Coleman put 3 of them out of bounds inside the 20-yard line. Eagles got to Coleman, but no flag. Fair catch called for by Cooper at the 29. Coleman goes over and says something to Jim Tunney, but Tunney says bring the chains all the way down. So the Eagles will start 1st and 10 from their own 29-yard line. Second possession. Let's take a look and see what you think, Drew Pearson. Was it roughing the kicker?
Minnesota's very noted for their specialty team play, and that's incidental contact right there. This definitely no interference. The receiver can't act. Kicker punter can't act anymore. He has to play it off.
2:02 left to go in this first quarter. Eagles' second possession coming out wide to the bottom of your screen. The rookie from Penn State, Kenny Jackson, Eagles' #1 draft pick. Melvin Hoover moves inside in the slot. Hubie Oliver, pull back and motion across by Montgomery. Jaworski, 3 straight times. He'll throw on first down. Misses Wilbert Montgomery, who had beaten the secondary. Carl Lee and Tommy Hannon in the vicinity, but Montgomery had a couple of steps.
That's the same play they ran earlier. They're still trying to work Montgomery on a linebacker on a corner route. The Eagles opening up their offense, still throwing on first down. It's been effective for them so far.
I'm very surprised we've not seen Spagnuolo, the tight end, on the receiving end of a Jaworski pass. Spags is back healthy. Marchibroda likes to get the tight end. He likes to get everybody involved. In fact, that's one of the things Montgomery said was so pleasing about Marchibroda's new offense, throwing more to the backs than they did last year and to the tight end. But we haven't seen number 88. Montgomery wide left. Hoover and Jackson wide right. Complete to Spagnola up near the 38-yard line. Freddie McNeil back there on the coverage. Well, we talk about the tight end, Bart.
Well, I knew before long they would go to him because he's an excellent receiver. He didn't catch anything last week, but he knows how to run routes. He gets inside here on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see him working on the linebacker. And he comes out, feels the zone, and settles down, puts the ball away, and takes a good lick. Good protection up front. You can see big Leonard Mitchell there controlling Doug Martin. Good protection for Jaworski. Steps up in that pocket and slings it.
3 tight ends in for Philadelphia. Spagnola, Cab, and Stapleton on a short yardage situation. 3rd and about 1.5. Wilbert Montgomery needs a block. Won't get it. 4th down situation for the Eagles. Just no blocking as Baker, Petey Perreault, and Leonard Mitchell were out there, but good lateral movement along the line of scrimmage that time for the Vikes.
Yeah, Jim, that's a tough play to call on a 3rd and 2 situation. You just like to call a quick hitter up the middle, something that can happen fast, but when they string it out like that, very seldom you're going to get the 1st down on 3rd and 2. Michael
Horan, and a rather poor first effort so far against the Vikings, and Rufus Bess, who's been busy on kickoffs and punt returns, standing back at the 18 of the Vikes. This a high spiraling kick. Beautiful kick by Horan. It backs him up to the 12-yard line. Best bumped out of bounds at the 20. An 8-yard return, but good hang time that time. Lawrence Stapleton bumped him out of bounds. Well, we're in our 2nd week of NFL football. We kick off our 1st week of college football next week. The Washington Huskies, and of course they defeated Northwestern rather handily, much to Irv Cross's dismay, 26-0 yesterday. How about Michigan over Miami, 22-14? So that'll be a good one.
That's right. Good football teams. Both teams are favorites, are at the top of the pack in their respective conferences, and Michigan a big game last week.
And on CBS Sports Saturday, Thomas Hitman Hearns back in action. And the Woodward, that's the Woodward Futurity. Get the spelling. Consult your local listing. Out of the backfield, Alfred Anderson. Huge hole. He breaks one at the 35. Bangs his way across the 40, up to the 43. 224 pounds coming at you. A 23-yard pickup and an injured Eagle down at the 35. Looks to be Wes Hopkins across there. Boy, did he take a hit from Alfred Anderson.
That's right. It was a big collision there. Wes is a big hitter. He likes to be aggressive and likes to hit. But that time he ran into Alfred Anderson that had a lot of steam going, and Anderson runs a 4.5 40.
Here it is again, and watch the collision.
It's a good pass on 1st down, just a swing pass. He gets some room. When he gets that room, he's in the open field. He picks up that steam, lowers that shoulder, and just runs right over Wes Hopkins. Wes Hopkins is still down.
That Dallas score was just announced here at Veterans Stadium. That was what the roar was for. It's 14-0. The New York Giants on top over the Cowboys. And, of course, you'll see the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys as the 2nd half of our doubleheader next week here on CBS.
Wilson got shaken up on that play, too. Alfred Anderson, he's a wrecking crew.
Wes Hopkins still down, however, being attended to. The Eagles a little thin now. Roynell Young is out. They don't want to lose Wes Hopkins also.
That's right. They're a little thin in the secondary, but they got a rook back there, Evan Cooper, that they're very, very high on. And if Hopkins can't continue to play, look for Cooper, number 21, to take his place.
You better help. Cooper's got a long and successful career. You know what he wants to be when he retires?
Uh-oh.
Sportscaster.
Figured that.
20 seconds left to go in quarter number 1. We are tied at 3. Vikings at the 43-yard line. Elbert Fowles in there now. He replaces Bernard Wilson, who had replaced Roynell Young, and Evan Cooper is in. He replaces Wes Hopkins. So you've got Herm Edwards, the 8-year veteran from San Diego State, looking around at the kiddie corps now as his teammates in the secondary. Tommy Kramer elects to run down the 1st quarter clock and go over and talk things over with Les Steckel. So we've had 2 field goals. Vikings scored first, a 38-yarder by Jan Stenerud. The Eagles drew even on a 27-yarder from Paul McFadden at the end of the 1st quarter. Along with Drew Pearson, I'm Jim Kelly. Welcome back to Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia as we start the 2nd quarter. A field goal by the Minnesota Vikings and by the Eagles, and that's where we stand right now. First snap, 2nd quarter from the 43 of the Vikings. Sammy White. Wide to the left side, to the near side, Dwight Collins. out of Pittsburgh. Tommy Kramer's had lots of time to throw, and he hands off to Alfred Anderson, the rookie out of Baylor. Not expected to play 4 days ago. Had to step in, fill the shoes of Darren Nelson. And we're watching on the sideline, Drew, number 23, Ted Brown, starting to limber up a little bit. So he might get back in for the Vikings.
Yeah, Bruce Slides type of thing. If you get it worked out, you can get back in the game. It's not the type of injury to keep you out for the whole game. So he looks like he's running around pretty good right there on the sideline. So we might see him back in the game.
From the 45 of Minnesota, it's 2nd and 7. Anderson, the lone running back. Out wide to the right side. Mike Jones, second year from Tennessee State. Alfred Anderson. Good block on the left side. That was Sammy White and Dwight Collins setting it up for Alfred Anderson. There's Brown on the sideline. He was running just a few seconds ago and looked like he might get back in.
Well, he's probably now adjusting a bandage there. He's probably got it wrapped up and taped up, and probably adjusting it. Looks like he's still in a little pain, a little soreness there, but we'll see what happens as the game goes on.
Word from the Eagles bench, Wes Hopkins was stunned, and he comes back in on this series. Anderson, by the way, 4 carries, 38 yards, so he's having a good initial effort here for a young man who had to adjust to a brand new position in less than 3 days. There's Hopkins back in the secondary.
He's a tough player. I knew he would be back.
Kramer will throw on short yardage. Incomplete at the 47 of Philadelphia. Herm Edwards delivered quite a blow to Allen Rice. Otherwise, first down Vikings.
Yeah, good timing on Herm. Herm Edwards is a very smart football player. He studies, he knows his opponent very well. He's not very physical back there. Gives you a lot of room in his pass coverage, but he's a very smart football player.
Greg Coleman will punt again. And the rookie out of Michigan, a 4th-round pick for the Eagles, Evan Cooper, who Philadelphia very high on specialty teams, as well as the nickelback defense. Back there anticipating Coleman's kick. Low, wobbly, supposed to be a spirally kick, hits at the 20 and takes a good bounce for Minnesota. We talked about the fact that Coleman had 3 inside the 20 last week against the Chargers. Well, he just banged one out here against the Eagles. Score stands tied at 3 when Philadelphia starts 1st and 10 when we come back. Eagles and Vikings deadlocked at 3. Interesting, as we talked with both coaches about their defensive adjustments, I think you and I both felt it was going to be a wide open football game with a lot of points scored, but so far the defenses have both shored up.
That's right. It's been wide open. There's been a lot of passing in this ball game, just not a lot of points. And both teams have drives going and they faltered, so that's why they had to set up for a field goal.
Hoover left, Jackson right. Motion by Hubie Oliver. Wilbert Montgomery bangs home across the 20 down to the 22. That's a Philadelphia first down. Scott Studwell, the man that hit him, a 12-yard pickup for Wilbert.
That's the Wilbert Montgomery of old. Those quick hitting plays up the middle where he can show his quickness. And once he gets in that secondary, he has that breakaway speed to run away from people. You see Hubie Oliver leading Wilbert right through the hole. Big hole there, and he busts through and into the secondary for a big gain. And Hubie Oliver is an excellent blocking back in the backfield for the Eagles.
Jackson left, Hoover right. 1st and 10 for Jaworski. Motion by Hubie Oliver again. You see him slap Jaworski back where the wallet usually is. Stutter step by Montgomery. Gets back to the line of scrimmage. Nothing doing. Charlie Johnson and Scott Studwell on the tackle. You know, in talking to Studwell at the Vikings hotel last night, he was very concerned, the veteran linebacker, about this game. He said, wait a minute, coaches won't look at it this way, but we're 0-4. We've lost our last 4 games in a row, the last 3 in the preseason, and of course last week against San Diego. And losing breeds losing.
That's right. And winning just doesn't happen. It's a habit that you form, and the only way you can develop that habit is by winning, and they want to win. The players want to win. The coach might not be that concerned, but the players want to win. It's no fun unless you're winning.
2nd and 9. Jaworski has a slot wide to the left side. Montgomery to the top of your screen. All kinds of time. Hubie Oliver looks to get to the 30 and does, but he'll be short of first down yardage. It'll be 3rd and 2. We told you the Giants were on top over Dallas. Let's go to New York and find out what's happening. Brent, the Giants 21-0 over the Cowboys, and the Cowboys will be at home against these Philadelphia Eagles next week. You'll see it as part of our doubleheader coverage on the NFL. Jaworski on 3rd and short. Wilbert Montgomery tried to knife his way across and was cut down shy of first down yardage. Randy Holloway cracked in there. Pittsburgh and made snap a little bit off, but he pulled up a little bit off. Shanks it off the side of his foot. This one goes out of bounds, and then the Vikings will have great field position. But a penalty flag is down. Jim Tunney will have a bit of a conclave here. A 19-yard kick. They'll spot it just across midfield at the 49 of Philadelphia. Eagles did everything wrong. I don't think the Vikings will take that penalty.
They'll refuse that one for sure. Horan was punting so beautifully yesterday in practice. I was real impressed with the strength of his leg, the distance he was getting on the punts. And first he gets off a 24-yarder, now a 19-yarder. He's having his problems.
Ineligible man, number 26 downfield, is declined. Minnesota's ball, first down.
Marion Campbell told us at the Eagles practice that Mike Horan had the strongest leg of any kicker since he's been in Philadelphia as either a head coach or as an assistant coach. We're still tied at 3. Vikings have it back at midfield. The youngest head coach in the National Football League, 38 years young, Les Steckel right there, whose team, the Vikings, leads the league in points allowed and I guess in positive thinking. First and 10, just across midfield. Little misdirection. Alfred Anderson did all that on his own. They had him trapped 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and Jerry Robinson had to come over to make the tackle. Let's talk about the positive thinking of Les Steckel right now. He's got an ABC approach to the game of football.
That's right. His attitude is for the A, and B is do your best, and C is commitment. And that's what he's trying to instill in this football team. And he's a fiery coach. He's a motivator. And it's a little different contrast from what these players are used to in Bud Grant. But I think it's healthy for the Minnesota Vikings.
Les Steckel, former Marine, brought a somewhat military regime to the Vikings as far as preseason. Complete opposite, of course, of the Bud Grant philosophy. Kramer goes airborne, looks for a first down, incomplete at the 33. Mike Jones and what should have been a first down.
Those are the kind you'd like to have back, especially when you get your first starting assignment. And the coaches are raving about you and giving you a chance to start. And the pass was right on the money, and Jones just couldn't hold it. And he's going to see him. He gets a good route. He's got the cornerback going. He just comes back, got to work to the sideline, drive to the sideline. Concentration. That's all it is.
3rd and 9. Tommy Kramer, slot formation to the right side. Wide to the left. Leo Lewis. Eagles are coming. Wide open is Sammy White, and he jumped too soon at the 30-yard line. Pressure by Philadelphia might have forced Kramer to release the ball a little soon, but Sammy White, his timing is just not in sync with Kramer.
The timing was off, but I think on that play, the pass was tipped by Everett Cooper. You can see the pressure coming there from the outside. Kramer just gets it away. It was a timing type of pass, and he's expecting White to just be in that area. Hopefully that he could come up with a catch.
This timing thing is getting to be a problem for the Vikings. Tommy Kramer was very tentative in our meeting last night. He was afraid of just not getting on track. Even last week against the Chargers, thought there might be a spillover. He was a little nervous.
Well, we talked about the protection is a problem, but also has a problem been working with his receivers, not getting the action he needs.
Coleman, line drive. Cooper calls for the fair catch at the 13-yard line, and that's where Ron Jaworski and the Eagles will start. Well, we've got 10-14 left to go in this first half. At halftime, Brent Irv with all the scores and highlights.
It's absolutely, positively incredible.
10-14 left to go in this first half. 1st and 10, Philadelphia. Jaworski works with Wilbert Montgomery, who came into this game needing just 92 yards to become the Philadelphia Eagles' all-time leading ground gainer. New fullback, Michael Haddix, number 26. Montgomery gets the call. Cross-blocking at the 15 as he bangs his way forward for 3. Dennis Johnson and Scott Studwell. Kind of funny to see, you look at Ted Marchibroda, the offensive coordinator there, very respected man, 2 years with the Lions, former head coach in Baltimore. And Marion Campbell said, boy, he's been through it all. He's been coach of the year, and he's been cut down with knives.
Well, he's a great offensive coordinator. Likes to use variety in his offensive philosophy, and everybody's going to get into action playing under Ted Marchibroda.
Jackson left, Hoover right. Jaworski bends in, looks at second, and a short 7. Michael Haddix behind the blocking of Wilbert Montgomery. That's interesting to see those two in the same backfield. Number 26, Michael Haddix, and number 31, Wilbert Montgomery. Michael Haddix just picked up 40 head of cattle, and Wilbert Montgomery's got a beef packing company. So your answer to where's the beef, it's right there in the backfield.
Right there in the backfield. You can see Scott Studwell making the play on that play. He's a tough middle linebacker, very aggressive, very strong inside.
And Studwell's response to Les Steckel and the Ironman competition, he said, we're in the best shape we've ever been in. Right end, Spagnola, Cab, and Staple. Jaworski play action, will throw. Spagnola's got a first down. Spagnola stretches out across the 30 to the 31. 1st and 10, Philadelphia. Tommy Hannon on the hit, a 10-yard pickup, first down.
What a target Spagnola is. He's a big guy coming out of that tight end position, 6'4", 240 pounds, and you can see him on the left-hand part of your screen. He just runs a simple out route to get the first down, picks it up. 10-yard gain for John Spagnola and the Eagles.
John, of course, missed the entire 83 season on the injured reserve list after undergoing surgery to take out a cervical disc. Eagles are glad to have him back. He began his rehabilitation by walking 5 miles a day. I formation for Jaworski. 1st and 10. Hoover to the near side. Jackson, top of your screen. Vikings blitz. Jaworski reads. Dumps off to Spagnola again, and he's wrestled down at the 35.
Good job by Jaworski that time, picking up the blitz and hitting open the receiver. Teams blitz you like that and put your receivers in man-to-man coverage, and Jaworski's a veteran enough to know who to go to in those types of situations. Here's the graphic for Eagle tight ends, only 24 receptions all last year.
And the man that just caught the ball, John Spagnola, finished up as Yale's all-time leading receiver with 88 receptions, so you know he knows how to catch the ball. He's also an outstanding blocker. Pitch back, Wilbert Montgomery, convoy right. Well, we just might see number 31 break Steve Van Buren's record here. A 19-yard pickup for Wilbert Montgomery.
Well, that's what the fans here in Philadelphia like to see. Wilbert Montgomery coming on that end, picks up his blocking, takes it up inside. Boy, he's an exciting runner, very explosive runner, and hard to bring down once he gets going.
10 carries, 59 yards for Wilbert Montgomery, so Marty Ernoff tells us he'll only need about 33 more yards to break the record. 1st and 10, Jaworski and the Eagles from the 45 of the Vikings. Hoover left, Jackson top of your screen. Backs are split. Michael Haddix, Wilbert Montgomery. Jaworski's been throwing on 1st down. Blitz again. Underneath. Spagnola again. 9 yards again. 2nd and 1. John Swain made the hit. Otherwise, Spags had 6.
See from the end zone angle here, the Vikings are doing some blitzing, and Jaworski, the veteran he is, picks it up. Defender fell down there, and Spagnola picks up another 1st down. Oh, excuse me, second and 2.
We mentioned that John went to Yale, so you know he's got some IQ power. He works in investment banking up in Boston in the offseason. He's got a degree in political science and very active with the Eagles in all of their charity work. Inside to Andy Hardy. Barrels for a 1st down. Blocking over on the right side. Leonard Mitchell, Ron Baker, Charlie Johnson, the former Eagle, the man that got there first for Minnesota.
The Eagles are very high on Andre Hardy. They got him listed at 6'1", 233, but some of the players are saying he's about 6'3 and a half, 250-some pounds, and he's a big one to bring down. You see Charlie Johnson there. He's a reader. He's not a penetrator on defense. He kind of works the line of scrimmage, works the draws, the screens, and here he is following the play in pursuit.
1st and for the Eagles at the 31 as Jaworski looks over the Vikings 4-3 defense. Vikings fake the blitz. Jaworski backs off. Pump fake. Now he's in trouble. Unloads to the sideline. And that shows you the strength of Ron Jaworski. Spagnola was in the vicinity, as they say. Penalty flag is down at the 20-yard line. Now let's check the call with Jim Tunney. Offensive pass interference. You wide receivers, do you ever do that?
No, we never do that. It's probably a bad call. Receivers never push. We just want the ball, and we just try to go for it.
Who's the toughest cornerback you ever played against?
Mel Blount with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
How come?
6'4", 210 pounds, and runs a 4.5 40. Tough to get off the line of scrimmage with him.
Pass interference, offense, number 47, 10 yards, Still first down.
Drew, are wide receivers, do the good ones, are they like a baseball pitcher when they keep a book on the hitter?
Oh yeah, well, we keep a book on the defensive backs. We know who's out there, their strengths, their weaknesses, what they can do, their speed, their size, how many interceptions they got in their career, how many interceptions they got in a particular year. Anything we can know about a defensive back, we try to know.
How many 1st and 20 plays do you have? Jaworski, 9 of 13, 80 yards. Kenny Jackson wide to the left. In the slot is Mel Hoover. That's in the grasp and control of Mark Mullaney. Broke his collarbone last year. A big minus as far as the Vikings on defense, because it's 6'6", 242 and a first-round pick. Nevada, Colorado State, very important.
Well, something the Vikings didn't get last week was a good pass rush, and things are happening so far with the defense for the Vikings. Defense is dominating this game, even though both teams seem to be moving the football and hitting big plays here and there. But in this particular game so far, defenses are dominating, and both teams gave up a lot of yardage and a lot of points last week to their opponents.
Time remaining in the first half. How many 2nd and 30 plays do you have? They did have 1st and 10. Eagles are going steadily backwards.
In the wrong direction.
Eagles are in their prevent offense. Jaworski, not much of a fake, unloads to Montgomery. He directs traffic, breaks it across the 40, slithers down to the 37, but a penalty flag is down. Freddie McNeil clinging on to Wilbert Montgomery, but let's check the call again.
I think this one is on the Eagles also.
14-yard pickup that will be negated by the penalty call. So the Eagles have had offensive pass interference, illegal use of hands. This series started at the 31 of Minnesota. They've got to get down to the 21. By the time Jim Tunney marks this off, I'm not sure Jaworski can throw it that far.
The penalties can kill you. The coach really stresses, try to avoid the penalties. The execution is what is important. If you execute and don't have the penalties, then you can put the ball in the end
to
zone.
the hands, number 65 during the run. It's 10 yards from the spot of the foul.
Watch number 65, the center, Mark Dennard.
See it coming up from the right-hand side here. Montgomery's cutting back. There he goes, pushing. Could have been either a push or a clip because he hit him from behind. Number 65, Mark Dennard. Trying to say he didn't do it, holding his hands back, but it's a little too late there.
Vikings decline the penalty, so from the shotgun, Jaworski looks over that Minnesota defense. Vikings fake the blitz. Jaworski, not much time, in trouble, unloads. Montgomery, safety valve, got 2 blockers in front of him, down at the 43. Not much doing. John Swain and Freddie McNeil stayed at home.
Well, that's a good call in that situation. You got a lot of yards to pick up. You still got another down. You got a back like Montgomery, so dump the ball out to him and let him do his thing, and hopefully he can break one. That time he didn't pick up the big yardage, but he got some of the yards back.
You saw in that shot, number 82 standing over on the Eagles sideline, just how much do they miss a guy like Mike Quick now. You might go to him in situation on 2nd and 30, but they're really not throwing that crossing pattern over the middle to either Hoover or Jackson that you would expect them to throw if that man were in there.
Well, Mike Quick, he presents so many problems to the defense that you have to concentrate on it. When he's not in there, the defense can do other things to stop other people. They miss him. There's no question about that.
3rd and 23. Unloads again. Haddock's out of the backfield to the 35. Reverses loose football. Fumble at the 30-yard line. Vikings say they got it. Jim Tunney will have the final word. Eagles hurt themselves with 3 costly penalties and then finally fumble it away at back what was almost the original line of scrimmage.
Well, Michael Haddock's been having his problems with the Eagles. He was the #1 draft choice last year, the 9th player picked in the draft, and didn't perform up to his capabilities last year. They're hoping big things out of him this year, but he looks good on the play, but just got to put that football away.
Randy Holloway forced the fumble. Vikings ball, 4:02 left before halftime. The defense of the Vikings much maligned in that loss to the Chargers a week ago, getting a well-deserved rest. They have shorn things up remarkably, allowing only 3 points. Kramer to Sammy White, breaks it at the 40, hammered down at the 47. Anthony Griggs, the man that got there, a 17-yard pickup, a first down for the Minnesota Vikings. That time their timing was perfect.
Excellent timing. I'm sure Sammy White's glad to have that first catch behind him. Now he can play like Sammy White always plays. And Kramer, what an arm he has. He fires it right in there. Sammy White makes the catch in front of Albert Fowles there and puts it away for a big 17-yard gain.
We talked about the fact that man, Sammy White, dropped the only ball thrown to him last week. If Tommy Kramer get on track, we'll see a clinic here this afternoon. That's the Vikings' initial first down of the second quarter and comes with 3:20 left. Motion across by Mike Mularkey. Kramer out of the pocket. Looks for someone to come back and help out. Goes out of bounds in front of his first-year coach, Les Steckel. In talking with Kramer about the difference between Bud Grant and Les Steckel, he said the difference is night and day.
There's a big difference. Bud Grant was easygoing. Steckel was more fiery. And it's a difference in the play calling. Minnesota is always noted for throwing the football, of course, but Steckel likes to instill a running game in his offensive philosophy and help the passing game get the running game going. Jerry Burns still the offensive coordinator, but Steckel much more involved. From the 47, Tommy Kramer looks over that 3-4 defense of Philadelphia, looks at 2nd and 10, and will go airborne. Unloads all alone, picked off Ellis, and then he drops the ball at the 20-yard line. Ray Ellis out of Ohio State covering Mike Jones, who was free, and the strong safety with a good job of getting over there. Boy, when you look at Ray Ellis when he hooks up with Wes Hopkins in that secondary for Philadelphia, they call those two the James gang. They like to hit you. That's why they call them, because there's thieves back there, and they like the action. They like to find out where that ball carrier is and put the helmet on him. Let's check Jim Tunney and check the call on that penalty.
Offside, 78. Decline. 3rd down.
Eagles keep the down box moving as we approach the 3:04 mark. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Philadelphia Eagles and the National Football League is prohibited. A quick first half at the Superdome in New Orleans, and John McKay's Bucks on top over Bum's boys. 3rd and 10, Vikings. Kramer over the middle. This one's picked off by Leonard Wilson. Wilson to the 35, 40, 45, midfield, down to the 45, inside the 45 to the 44.
Wilson had such a rough day last week against the New York Giants. Got beat a few times for touchdowns, but was really playing out of position on the corner. Now he's playing in his normal position in his passing situation, free safety, and he just reads the coverage, and it's overthrown by Kramer. And he makes a great run back after making the interception. Bernard Wilson.
The defense of the Eagles, who only had 8 interceptions all last year, pick off 1 here against the Vikings. The Eagles have not scored a touchdown in the first half this year. 3-all tie with the Vikings. Jaworski will try to get him in the end zone. Haddix is wide open. He fumbled last time, but not this time. First down inside the 25. Tommy Hannon hanging on.
Haddix said, just give me a chance to redeem myself, and he took that short pass and broke a good gain, 20-yard gain on the play for Michael Haddix. Good receiver coming out of the backfield. Last year caught 23 passes.
We talked about his 40 head of cattle. He's got a 240-acre farm back in Walnut, Mississippi. Jaworski, 13 of 17 for 131 yards. 2:09. We approach the 2-minute warning. Pitch back to Wilbert. Montgomery rambles, barrels down to the 20. And that should be the last play before the 2-minute warning. We've got a 3-3 standoff. The Eagles and the Vikings. A 38-yard field goal by Jan Stenerud opened things up. But the Eagles came back, and Paul McFadden, the rookie, got the equalizer from 27, so we're deadlocked at 3. Eagles ball, 1st and 10 at the Minnesota 20. Ron Jaworski, having conferred with Marion Campbell, line of scrimmage, the 20-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings, 2 field goals, and that's where we are. The Philadelphia Eagles have run 34 plays for a total of 208 yards. The Vikings have had 21 plays for 109 yards, but stats are sometimes deceiving.
That's right. We've got to put the ball in the end zone. We need 6 points.
2nd and 6. Last time they were in field goal range, 3 penalties and then a fumble. Hoover to the top of the screen. Jackson to the near side. Jaworski goes up top. Vikings are coming. Batted up in the air and almost intercepted by Doug Martin at the 33. Charlie Johnson, the ex-Eagle, got those big hands up there in the face of Jaworski and forced almost the interception.
You can see the pressure here on the videotape, and good protection for a while, but the receivers are having trouble getting open downfield. They can't keep them out of there forever, and Charlie Johnson just puts his hands up and slaps the ball away. Nobody can't find it. It's flying around there somewhere, and it finally hits the turf.
You don't think that Charlie Johnson is Steckel's kind of player, do you? Charlie Johnson was a military policeman when he toured Vietnam. They'll speak the same language.
That's right, right up the same alley.
Philadelphia, 2 out of 7 of third down conversions. Jaworski looks at 3rd and 6. Shotgun, Flood to the right, Jackson to the left. Nickelback Rufus Bess in there for the Vikings. Batted down at the line of scrimmage by Randy Holloway.
Again, Jaworski not getting the time to throw the football. Leonard Mitchell having troubles on the right side of the Eagle offensive line, stopping Doug Martin, the Minnesota Vikings' best pass rusher.
So from the hash mark near side, Jaworski will put it down in the vicinity of the 27-yard line. Tack on the 10 of the end zone, a 37-yard try for Paul McFadden. You've got 2 Youngstown State Penguins out there now. Jaworski holding and McFadden kicking. Eagles lead 6-3. Vikings get the ball back. They've got 1:46 with left to work, and they've still got 2 timeouts left, so this half is a long way from over. Brent Nerve with highlights at halftime. Time left in the first half. Eagles up by 3 points. And again, Brent Musburger, Irv Cross with scores and highlights. Last time we heard from Brent, it was the New York Giants shocking the Dallas Cowboys 21-0. He'll update you on that. And of course, that's the second half of our doubleheader game next week. Rufus Bess fumbles the ball at the 10, scoops it up like a basketball, and gets hammered down at the 22 in the grasp of Michael Haddix.
Rufus Bess got one of those home field bounces that time, even though he's in Philadelphia. Just bounces off his chest. You want to try to catch these things in your hand. It just bounces off his chest and comes right back up to him. He got lucky on that play. Good tackle there by Michael Haddix.
How about the Eagles defensively now, Drew? Do they blitz a little bit more? Do you go into a semi-prevent defense? You got to anticipate Kramer's going to throw.
Now they're going to go into a little prevent defense, use their 3-man line to rush. They might blitz one of the linebackers to create a 4-man rush situation.
Eagles not going with a nickel defense yet. Kramer, flood formation to the left side, drops down, was not hit by an Eagle, gets back up and dumps off incomplete at the 30, looking for Steve Jordan. Good coverage that time by Reggie Wilkes, who actually was closer to the ball than Jordan.
Kramer really just trying to throw the ball away on that play, trying to salvage something and not get sacked, and definitely not throwing an interception. Kramer does look a little rusty. He said yesterday that he's having trouble because he didn't play much last year because of an injury, and then didn't play much in the preseason because the offensive line was intact, but he definitely looks a little rusty out there so far in the first half.
Well, you saw that replay, and good camera work on our director, Bob Dunphy. You saw 66 Terry Tausch, the right guard, and it looked like their feet got tangled up on the exchange. From the shotgun, Kramer looks at 2nd and 10. Little shovel pass underneath to Alfred Anderson, and nothing doing. Their timing in the backfield on that play just did not develop. Greg Brown was in the vicinity, but again, the running back Anderson hampered by the offensive line, who had not cleared out their hole. Well, we saw the Chicago Bears play their final preseason game for their only win, and they were a much improved team. Walter Payton, of course, Jimmy McMahon, and Ditka's boys on top over John Elway in Denver. And that score has not changed at halftime. Brent Nerve will have scores and highlights for you. On 3rd and 12, penalty flags all over the place, and down at the 15-yard line goes Tommy Kramer. Greg Brown, 4th year from Kansas State. Kenny Clark out of Syracuse came crashing through. Byron Darby also putting pressure, a 9-yard loss.
Well, last week the Eagles couldn't get any type
Holding,
of pass.
66, offense, decline, 4th down.
Terry Tausch not having a good series. He trips the quarterback and gets caught for holding.
That's right. Last week the Eagles couldn't get any type of pass rush. This week they're getting that pass rush, and it makes a difference in their defensive secondary coverage, and no big plays hit against them so far.
Big defensive series for the Eagles right there, Drew Pearson. Coleman's back at his goal line. Cooper's back at the 45. With any kind of a return, the Eagles are going to have good field position, and they've still got about 50 seconds.
Right, they're going to have excellent field position here.
Let's see if the Eagles try to block this kick. Vikings, of course, made a career out of blocking. High, beautiful, spiraling kick by Greg Coleman. Cooper at the 40. Big hole! All the way down to the 30, down to the 30, Minnesota, but a penalty flag is down. Backward, Cooper caught the ball.
Oh, how those penalties hurt.
That is a very costly penalty. A 45-yard punt, a 26-yard return, excellent heg time, 4.1. And Jim Tunney, illegal use of the hands. So the Eagles, instead of starting at the 34 of the Minnesota Vikings, well, they're walking out where Gary Maddox patrols center field for the Phillies.
Well, they're in the area now where they got to be a little cautious as far as what they call. Even though they have 43 seconds left on the clock and they want to work their 2-minute offense, they still have to be cautious in the type of passes they throw.
Use of the hands during the run back. Number 20, it's 10 yards and first down.
Drew, this another situation, obviously, where Jaworski would look to Mike Quick if he were healthy.
That's right. This is a type of situation where Mike Quick really shows his stuff, and he's a tough receiver. A lot of times in the 2-minute defenses, especially for the Vikings, you get a lot of zone defenses, and Quick is experienced enough to work those zones.
Quick with a bruised knee. Marion Campbell calls him our thoroughbred. Slot to the left side. Jaworski shows shotgun. 1st and 10 from his own 35. Big penalty. They had it at the 34 of Minnesota. Low snap. Jaws fields and fires. Into double cover. Incomplete at the 25-yard line, looking for Kenny Jackson. The receiver and the defender, Willie Teal, banged a little bit. Fans want interference, but not even close.
Now, incidental contact, if any contact at all. Neither player initiated the contact. This is the pass I'm talking about. You can't throw those types of passes in this situation because the interception would give the ball back to the Vikings with good field position. But you can see there's no incidental contact or no contact on that play, only incidental contact.
Second and 10 from the 36 of Philadelphia. Kenny Jackson comes out wide left. Mel Hoover moves into the slot. Wide to the right side. Wilbert Montgomery. So you think they wouldn't like to get Montgomery free on that right side? Jaworski with a pump fake. Sets up the screen. Wilbert's got it. But nobody in front of him. Down at the 40-yard line. Brings up 3rd down and long yardage for the Eagles. We talked about halftime. Coming up at halftime, of course, we'll have scores and highlights. Hank Strand in the studio with Brent Nerve. And, of course, we'll have a U.S. Open tennis preview on the men's singles finals. Yvonne Lendl and John McEnroe. I want to see those Dallas highlights myself.
I like to see what's happening there. Dallas, a lot of times you play that Monday night game and get a hangover from the effects of playing Monday and coming back and playing Sunday. So they're probably feeling those effects right now.
Let's see if there are any surprises around the NFL. New England and Miami, they look like they're deadlocked at 7-all. Tampa Bay was ahead of New Orleans 10-7 the last time we checked. Detroit, they led by a touchdown against Atlanta. Kansas City playing in Cincinnati. Kansas City has a great offense. Todd Blackledge started at quarterback against the Steelers. Ironically, his father, the offensive line coach at Pittsburgh. Kansas City, the Chiefs, and the Bengals are deadlocked at 14-all. They're getting close to halftime there. 27-0 Denver behind Chicago now, and that's at the half. They're having a career. And, of course, the Giants 21-0 over Dallas. St. Louis 24-0 over Buffalo. Brent's going to have a lot of highlights. A lot of lowlights, too.
A lot of goose eggs up there.
A lot of lowlights if you're a Buffalo Bills fan.
Well, you know that Chicago-Denver game, that's Mike Ditka, a former Dallas Cowboy coach, going against Dan Reeves, another former Dallas Cowboy coach. So there's probably a little more at stake than that particular ball.
Boys keep producing coaches and broadcasters, right? You follow the footsteps of Roger Staubach, Calvin Hill.
Charlie Waters.
That's right. Jaworski. He fires. He's got Tony Woodruff, and Woodruff is hammered out of bounds up near the 48-yard line.
Good job by Woodruff, excuse me, Jim, to get out of bounds on the play to stop the clock.
And pick up the first down. So there are 21 seconds remaining. The groan from the crowd, they posted that Bears-Broncos score.
Bears look tough. We've seen them in the last preseason game, and they've been dominating ever since that football game.
I think the last Dallas Giants score they posted here was 14-0. They post 21-0.
Oh,
These people they'll go to the airport and get on a plane for Dallas, get down there and get those seats. 1st and 10. Eagles lead 6-3. Jaworski from the shotgun. Looks to unload. Now there's a timing miscue. Jackson turned it up. Jaworski released. And the ball nowhere around the receiver.
Well, Jackson had a problem that time getting away from the defense. The defense was rolled up toward his side, and they were bumping him around pretty good, so he couldn't get away from the defensive back. Those are the types of things that a young receiver like Jackson is going to have to learn to deal with in this business. You can see here on the bottom of your screen, Jackson trying to get off the line of scrimmage, takes a good chuck. You can't let that defensive back, Willie Teal, get those hands on you. If he gets 2 hands on you, you're in trouble. Try to turn your back or throw your arm over his shoulder to try to prevent that contact.
Kenny Jackson told me on Friday, he said another adjustment he had to make. In college, you're expected to run the route very precisely. In the pro offensive scheme of things, you're allowed a little bit more freedom. There he took too much, and the ball was fired over his head. 2nd down and 10. 16 seconds remain. Jaworski slot to the left side with Hooper, 85, Jackson, 81. Jaworski underneath to Montgomery. Montgomery down to the 38-yard line, about 2 yards short of first down yardage, and Montgomery not happy with the way he's being bounced around by Joey Browner. Now, Browner had all kinds of problems last week against San Diego. Ironically, though, their #1 draft pick, Joey Browner, the only man that scored a touchdown for Minnesota in that huge loss.
That's right. He picked up a fumble and took it in, but must have been doing something wrong because they decided to put him on a bench, and he's showing some of his frustration for not starting and trying to take it out on Wilbur Montgomery.
Well, when you say he must have done something wrong, it was interesting because you get 2 very differing opinions. You talk to Joey Browner, he said, I didn't think I had such a bad game. Les Steckel was more emphatic. He said, Joey Browner did not have a good football game.
Well, I guarantee you Les Steckel's opinion counts more. The Eagles can get another pass downfield, maybe a 20-yard gain here. They'll put themselves in good field goal position. They got 9 seconds left on the clock.
Jaworski over on the sideline conferring with head coach Marion Campbell. Campbell, of course, nicknamed the Swamp Fox. His given name is Francis Marion Campbell, named after the Revolutionary War hero who fought down in the swamps of South Carolina. And, you know, I think it was back in 1956 when Campbell was a defensive lineman. He intercept pass thrown by his offensive coordinator, Ted Marchibroda. Marchibroda was the 2nd leading passer in the NFL that year, and Campbell picked one of them off.
I bet they have fun with that in the coaches' meetings.
They'll replay it on the old black and white film, right?
That's right.
Kinescope. Jaworski now 16 of 24. You see the timeouts remaining. 9 seconds remaining.
Got to get enough yards, get in that field goal range.
Long count by Jaworski. Might have changed the play call. Good pass protection. Unloads. Got Spagnuolo at the 31. Eagles quickly take timeout with just 2 ticks on the clock, and we'll see the rookie place kicker from Youngstown State. Now his longest career field goal, 47 yards last week against the New York Giants. Obviously, Paul played in his first game a week ago, his first pro game. Spagnuolo, who limps off now, 5 catches for 40 yards. Jaworski will hold at about the 49.5-yard line. We'll see where Ronnie will put it down. Two seconds remain, so barring a penalty, this should be the final play of half number 1. Jaworski out of Youngstown State will hold for McFadden, also out of Youngstown State. Hash mark far side, no wind here at Veterans Stadium. So this will be just about a 50-yard try. Let's see where Jaworski puts it down precisely. 49.5 on its way. It's got enough leg. It is good. A 49.5-yard field goal for the rookie from Youngstown State, Paul McFadden, and the Eagles take a lead at halftime by 6 points. That's the end of the first half. With the score, the Philadelphia Eagles 9, the Minnesota Vikings 3. Halftime with Brent Nerd, scores and highlights and lots more coming up. Back at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, our score at halftime. We've seen 4 field goals. The Eagles lead the Vikings by 6. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Kelly, former Dallas Cowboy All-Pro wide receiver Drew Pearson alongside. And Drew, for two teams that combined to allow over 70 points between them, those defenses played pretty well first half.
That's right. Both coaches had said that their defenses are better than what they've shown. And so far today, their defenses are dominating this football game.
How about adjustments on offense? Do you expect anything different in the second half?
I think the main concern for both teams offensively is when they get the ball in scoring territory, they got to put the ball in the end zone via the touchdown.
Penalties have hurt both teams, the Vikings and the Eagles. It's a low-scoring football game, and we've got a good second half coming up. Eagles on top over the Vikings, the second half kickoff following these messages. Along with Drew Pearson, I'm Jim Kelly, and welcome back to Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. As we begin the third quarter, the Eagles and the Vikings still looking for that first victory of the young 1984 season. Both of them had rather rough outings in game number 1. San Diego stuck their helmets right in the Vikings midsection and came away with a very impressive victory. It was 42-13, and the Vikings really weren't in it from the opening gun. And then the Eagles fell behind big. Giants on top 28-27, a comeback that fell short. Philadelphia couldn't get the ball back after pulling to within 1 with 5.5 left to play. Rufus Bess at the 7-yard line. Dribbled the last one, gets this one cleanly, and is chopped down at the 24. Andre Waters on the tackle for Philadelphia. Let's take a look at those halftime statistics with Drew Pearson and find out who did what to whom.
Well, you can see the Eagles are moving the ball pretty effective by their first down totals. They had 12-4 to Minnesota.
The big stat there, of course, has to be the passing, though. Over 100 yards difference in the Eagles' favor, and that's rather surprising for a Tommy Kramer quarterback team.
That's right. Well, they're showing some indecisiveness in their decisions to throw the football. Kramer looks very rusty back there, and the time of possession very noticeable. The Eagles are dominated the first half as far as time of possession is concerned.
Dwight Collins, the rookie from Pittsburgh, top of your screen. Sammy White to the near side, pitch back to Alfred Anderson. Anderson across the 30-yard line and fights up to the 32. Jerry Robinson, the veteran linebacker from UCLA, the first to get there.
Alfred Anderson looks very impressive in his first start in National Football League, and he's getting some good blocking on that side of the line. He's carried the ball 6 times for 48 yards.
Don't forget that Alfred Anderson, Vikings third-round draft choice there, the rookie, playing out of position.
His normal position is fullback.
Had to make the switch to halfback with the elbow injury to Darren Nelson. Second and a short one, almost a free play. Kramer will go for the first down. Very close to first down yardage is Alfred Anderson.
They ran it right up the middle. They wanted that first down right away. They didn't want to mess around and go for a bomb on 2nd and 1. And it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 3rd down here. They're going to bring it in for a measurement.
Jim Tunney, the referee. Alfred Anderson, the running back out of Baylor, finished second on the Baylor Bears all-time rushing list behind Walter Abercrombie, who now, of course, runs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anderson hampered a bit with a wrist injury in a high school all-star game. Actually forced him to move from quarterback to running back as a freshman. Fate has a strange way of stepping in.
That's right. We might throw a pass. I bet that wrist is fine now, and he might throw a pass this afternoon because they have been running him on the sweeps, and Philadelphia's cornerbacks have been coming up to try to force it.
That is a first down, says Jim Tunney. It's only the 5th first down of the football game for the Vikings.
Let's see if the Vikings can get on track, try to get some continuity within their offense. They haven't been able to put a drive together since early in the football game.
Byron Darby moves into the right defensive end spot for the Eagles. The handoff, Alan Rice, the rookie from Baylor, sweeps the left side. Chops his way across the 42-yard line in the grasp of Anthony Griggs. So you've got 2 Baylor Bears in there now, and both of them rookies.
Here on the replay, we're isolating on Jerry Robinson. You can see him working across field, keeping his body low, keeping his shoulders upfield, following the play and smelling it out and getting in on the tackle. Jerry Robinson is more suited for the outside, but the Eagles have him playing inside. He tried to put on more weight. He's about 240 now, but it's still tough learning that inside linebacker position.
2nd down and 2. Kramer, inside handoff. That's Alfred Anderson. Anderson does it all on his own. He was chopped behind the line of scrimmage for a short loss, then kept those knees turning, barreled over Reggie Wilkes, fought his way down to about the 48-yard line, but a penalty flag is down and it appears to be holding against the Vikings.
Well, I think Dwight Collins, the wide receiver on that side, was a little too aggressive on cornerback Bernard Wilson and just kind of slung him to the ground.
You see Jerry Robinson indicating over to the Eagles bench the penalty call there. You talk about Jerry Robinson being better suited. What an athlete he was in high school. I mean, he rushed for 350 yards and scored 5 touchdowns.
During the run, 10 yards, still second down.
We hear from Jim Tunney. I was doing a football camp in California, and one of the campers in that camp was Jerry Robinson, and a lot of the coaches were high on him at that time, and of course he went on to UCLA to be an All-American football player. But at that time, even though he was still in high school, you could see that Jerry Robinson had all the qualities to be a good professional football player.
He is the heart of that Eagle defense, the man that Marion Campbell relies on for inspiration and leadership. Motion across. Kramer pitches back on 2nd and 7. Anderson, Reggie Wilkes, and Jerry Robinson are there. No gain. The Eagles defense answered the call.
Well, the Eagles defense is rising to the occasion. They're showing a lot better effort than they showed last week, and this looks like the Philadelphia Eagles. Very conservative in what they do, but very aggressive at the same time as far as getting to the ball and making the play.
How about the secondary of Philadelphia? When you look at Herm Edwards, Wes Hopkins in there now, your old nemesis Roynell Young, are they as aggressive as they ought to be? It always seems to me Herm Edwards gives you that extra yard or two.
They're a good secondary, but they're kind of restrictive.
Hit on Anderson back deep at about the 15-yard line. Had a good punt return of 26 yards, nullified by a holding call in the first half. Low snap. Coleman gets it away. Angles a high spiraling kick. Beautiful kick. It backs Cooper up to the 9-yard line. So the Eagles' first possession of the second half will start deep in their own territory. Philadelphia's had 3 field goals. The Vikings have had 1. It's a 6-point Eagle advantage when we come back. Time left in the third quarter. First Eagle possession so far. You look at number 31, Wilbert Montgomery, just 29 yards more to pass Steve Van Buren for the all-time Eagle rushing record. Wilbert, of course, missed most of last year. He missed 7 straight weeks after arthroscopic surgery on his knee. And I don't think Philadelphia is happy to have him back running and catching out of the backfield. Jaworski looks over the defense. Hubie Oliver. That is a Philadelphia first down. Dennis Johnson hanging on.
Sometimes we forget what an effective runner Hubie Oliver can be. He was really the only healthy back through the whole season last year for the Eagles, and not only a great blocker, but a good runner once he gets that ball. You can see him going from right to left on your screen, and he gets around that corner and gets in the secondary, and tough man to bring down when he gets out in the open field.
Out of Arizona, he won 4 varsity letters. He rushed for over 100 yards 9 times. Had 166 yards one time against Colorado State, but he was not heavily recruited out of high school. Wilbert Montgomery. No blockers there, and great lateral pursuit by the Vikings that time. They chop him down. Scott Studwell, the first to get there.
Yeah, with good penetration way before that by the Vikings to take out the interference for Montgomery. They took out the guard Ron Baker, who was pulling on the play, and that just kind of left Montgomery out there in the open.
Studwell, who made the tackle, he told us last night at the hotel of the Vikings, he said, we've just got to get a lot more physical than we were against the San Diego Chargers, play with a little bit more aggressiveness. He wants to see the bodies flying around a little more.
Well, I think they're doing that today. They're doing a good job. They're just giving away some big plays to the Eagles, and the Eagles have been very consistent in their drives.
2nd and 10, Jaworski, wide receivers to the left side. Hooper, Jackson, top of the screen. Wilbert Montgomery bangs to the 25. John Swain made the tackle. All right, Brent, let's check in and see what's going on with the Giants. Shocker, Brent. And, of course, the Cowboys and the Eagles, our featured game, second half of the doubleheader weekend next week here on CBS Sports. That should be it ended, as they say. It always is, right? You got to. What did you say the other day? We're walking around Veterans Stadium. You have to strap your helmet on twice when you get ready.
That's right. Eagles and Cowboys can throw the records out the window.
Jaworski on 3rd and 5. They'll try to dive for it across the 30. That's a first down for Philadelphia. Robert Cobb out of Arizona, the man who was hanging on to Jaworski, and that brings the crowd to life.
You know, when Ron Jaworski takes off and runs like that, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. You're getting a good pass rush, and all these guys are thinking about is getting a quarterback. But when you're like 3rd and 5, it's a good idea to put that ball under your arm and take off with it. They needed 5, they got 8 out of the play.
You could see the excitement in Ron Jaworski's eyes over the game plan, couldn't you, in the locker room the other day?
Yeah, he's very happy with new offensive coordinator Ted Marshall-Broda and his new offensive philosophy. It's a lot of things Ron Jaworski knows, so he's familiar with the offensive philosophy so far.
Kenny Jackson left, Mel Hoover right. Jaworski quick out. He's got a sliding Kenny Jackson to the 47. Willie Teal was there, but there's absolutely nothing a defensive corner can do on a pattern like that.
Now the ball's thrown low and away, and Jackson made a heck of a catch. He showed you some of his athletic ability right there. And guess where Kenny Jackson's from? He's from South River, New Jersey, my hometown. Quarterback for the Redskins, what's his name, number 7? Joe Theismann is also from there. A lot of good athletes from South River, New Jersey. Not far from here either, right up the road, about 45 minutes.
Preceding brought to you by the South River Chamber of Commerce and Drew
Right.
Pearson. 1st and 10, Philadelphia from their own 46. Quick pitch, Hubie Oliver, Wilbur Montgomery with a block, but nobody can do much when there's a defensive lineman hanging out of the back of your jersey, and that was Doug Martin, got his claws out there at the 45.
Now, we hear a lot about Doug Martin being an effective pass rusher, but he's tough against that run. He's a veteran player, and he reads a lot, and he can smell out that run and make the play when necessary.
His brother George is the defensive lineman for the New York Giants. He was a field day up there.
That's right. You can see Martin working down the line of scrimmage and just gets his Hubie Oliver in the grafts and yanks him back.
2nd and 11. Mel Hoover comes to the near side. Kenny Jackson, top of your screen. Kenny Jackson inside Viking territory down at the Minnesota 48-yard line.
Well, Kenny Jackson kind of waiting for the flow, all the action to go in front of him, then coming underneath the action is what we called in Dallas a zoom route. Let the action take place, time the route to come in and pick up 4 or 5 yards on the play.
Kenny Jackson, 4 catches, 46 yards. Slot formation left side, 3rd and 4. Jaworski from the shotgun. Hoover was open. Jaworski goes to the back. That's Andre Hardy. 1st down and more at the 38 of the Vikings. Boy, Melvin Hoover was all alone down here at the 45, but Jaworski knew right away who he's going to.
Yeah, that was a nice pass by Ron Jaworski. He had nothing but touch. We hear about the Polish rifle, Ron Jaworski zinging the football, but that time he put the touch on the pass and just laid it in there to Andre Hardy. And Andre Hardy, they're very high on. He's a big player, and he thinks they can. The Eagle coaches think they can help him. You see Jaworski there. You can see just a touch. Just lay it in there to Hardy. I guarantee you, if you can't catch that, you can't catch nothing.
Billy Matthews, the Eagles running back coach, said that Andre Hardy's a Chuck Muncie or Theotis Brown type of running back. Good hands and give you the big run when you need it as well. 1st in Philadelphia from Minnesota's 39. Clinging to the football, both arms wrapped around it. Hubie Oliver bangs inside the 40, down to about the 38 in the grasp of Mark Mullaney.
Again, the Eagles have a good drive going here, and the thing is, they had these drives going in the football game up to this point, but something's always come up to stall them. Let's see if they can continue this drive and get the ball in the end zone with a touchdown.
Jaworski, he's completed his last 6 passes. Big disparity as far as 1st downs are concerned, but not a big disparity up on that scoreboard.
No, but the Eagles are keeping their offense on the field, keeping the Viking defense on the field, and time of possession is just awesomely in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles.
5:10 left, 3rd quarter. This is the Eagles' only possession of the 3rd quarter, a long sustained drive. Safety valve, Andre Hardy. Andre Hardy inside the 30, inside the 25.
Big guy looks like a tight end running around out there. He's a running back. Jaworski set that screen up real nice, kind of let the rush come at him. It made things happen. You can see him looking downfield. He's looking like he's trying to throw it. He even tries to pump it one time, knowing all the time he's going to go to the screen. And there's Hardy doing his thing in the open field.
Andre Hardy, he looks like a refrigerator when he comes at you. A 13-yard pickup. It's another Philadelphia first down. John Spagnola, the tight end, is also down at the 25. Eagles lead by 6. We'll take timeout. John Spagnola is down, and also down for the Minnesota Vikings, number 45, Tommy Hannon. But Tommy's going off, as Spagnola did, under his own power. There's a new tight end for Philadelphia. It's Vito Cabb, number 84, who's another former Penn State star in his 3rd year. You know, you look at the time remaining, 4 minutes 40 seconds, Drew, and this Philadelphia Eagle drive started back at their 10-yard line. They've run off almost 7 minutes on the drive.
It's been a good sustained drive for the Eagles, something they wanted to do. And again, they're mixing up their plays. They're calling the pass plays on first down. They're throwing screens. They're getting everybody involved in the action.
Kenny Jackson comes out wide to the left side, and at the top of your screen is Melvin Hoover. Jaworski bends in, 1st and 10. Pitch back, Wilbert Montgomery behind Hubie Oliver. Rockman throws a block, and Montgomery dives inside the 20 to about the 18. Scott Studwell. His arms are about the size of my legs. His forearms.
Yeah, he's a great specimen. That's what it takes, that to play in the middle nowadays. You find these middle linebackers going 235, 40, and sometimes in the case of Matt Millen, where the LA Raiders, they go as much as 255, 260 pounds. They're kind of like defensive linemen that can move.
2nd down and 5. Jaworski sends Kenny Jackson to the bottom of your screen. Melvin Hooper to the top side. Wilbert Montgomery on a delay. Maybe gets back to the line of scrimmage. Nothing doing. Scott Studwell stayed at home, and Joey Browner came up. Browner seeing a lot of action in the second half again. Carl Lee got the start, but the 1st-round draft pick out of USC has fought his way back in there. Had a good series in the first half, and I think Les Steckel said, we'll give you another shot.
Well, he's going to get his shot here. I guarantee you, Joey Browner is going to take advantage of that shot. Joey Browner's brother, he has 5 brothers and 2 sisters, but one of his famous brothers is Ross Browner with the Cincinnati Bengals. But we're in a situation here, Jim, that the Eagles have been down here before. We got a 3rd and 7. They need this first down to keep this drive going. They don't want to settle for another field goal.
2:48 left to go in the 3rd quarter. You look at down and distance in the shotgun with Ron Jaworski. Low snap. Jaws picks it up off the carpet, airs it out, just releases the ball, incomplete in the end zone. Willie Teal on the coverage. Tony Woodruff was there, and how Jaworski even got the ball in the vicinity is a minor miracle.
It's remarkable how he got that pass off. Good pass rush by the Vikings in that situation, and just kind of threw it up there and hope that Woodruff can come back and make the catch. Sometimes that defensive back's got his flow going one way, and the receiver can see the ball, so he can stop and come back. Sometimes that play works when you throw it up like that, but not in this case.
You're a former high school quarterback. That low snap from center throws the timing off, and when you bend down to pick up the ball and you look up and you see Doug Martin and Charlie Johnson bending down, you're going to throw it away.
That's right, Jim. What it does is messes up your read.
Those Youngstown State Penguins are back in there. Jaworski holds. McFadden, he has been perfect. He's got a pair of 37-yarders to go with a 27-yarder and a 49.5-yarder before halftime. And the Eagles lead the Vikings 4 field goals to 1. It's a 9-point Philadelphia Eagle advantage. That drive used up almost 9 minutes, but they only came away with 3 points. So it's not a big lead despite the huge edge in the statistics. Vikings dodged a bit of a bullet, Drew, and they only had to give up 3 points after a 9-minute drive by the Eagles.
That's right. You know, if they get a touchdown on this drive, they're only 3 points down or 2 points down. They'll be right back in this football game.
Rufus Best, Alfred Anderson are back deep. This is Rufus Best at the 10. Dodged one tackler at the 20, but nobody was there for support. And Andre Waters, who's been a great rookie on the specialty teams, down there quickly.
Well, he's the man that makes their specialty teams go, and it's a rookie, and it's one way you can make the football team. And all you got to do is hustle and get down there. And Andre Waters is not that big. You can see him hustling down there, getting to the play, and making it happen. That's why he's on this football team.
1st and 10 Vikings from their own 21 when we come back. Line of scrimmage, the 21-yard line. The offense has been off the field for the Vikings for a long time, almost 9 minutes. Do you lose something in your intensity and your timing?
Yeah, you don't have the feel of the game. They're not getting anything going. They have no continuity in their offense, so therefore they don't have the feel of the game. They got to get something established now because their defense is getting tired. They've been on the field a long time.
Tommy Kramer begins to work. Alfred Anderson looks to the left side, gets a block across the 20. Loose football, but it's out of bounds. Vikings at the 24. Joe L. Williams, the man who stripped Alfred Anderson of the football. Kay Stevenson really having some problems with the Buffalo Bills, and Jim Hannafin has the Cardinals off in front by a 24-point lead. Atlanta coming back. They were behind by 7 most of the game. And the Giants, that is a shocker.
Can the Cowboys come back, though? That's the question.
How many games did you play and you were ever behind by 21 points?
Well, we played one game against the Redskins. We were behind 21-0 at halftime, but we ended up pulling that game out 28-21. So the Cowboys can do it. They have the offensive weapons to come back.
Sammy White deployed wide to the left side. Dwight Collins, the rookie out of Pittsburgh, wide to the bottom of your screen. 2nd down and 8. Motion comes across. The rookie, Dwight Collins. Kramer, airborne. Pump fake, fires wide open. Sammy White, and what a collision at the 45 of Minnesota. Herm Edwards.
Nice play by Herm Edwards. Just sitting in his own defense, reading the quarterback all the way. Quarterback releases the ball. He breaks on the ball, and excellent timing by Herm Edwards to break up the play. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, Herm Edwards coming in the play. Receiver coming in. Herm Edwards knocking it away.
Herm Edwards with a degree in criminal justice. He delivered the verdict.
That's right.
Guilty.
Smart football player. Tough to beat.
Studies his opponent, studies the films, charts them. 3rd and 8. Kramer. Minnesota 1 out of 8 on 3rd down conversions. Minnesota 2 out of 9. Wide open. Leo Lewis. 1st down, Vikings at their own 42. Big play. Elbert Fowles, a cousin of Wilbert Montgomery, in there on the tackle, but not after a 19-yard pickup.
That's a big play for the Vikings. They needed somebody to take over, and Leo Lewis did it. You see from the end zone, the protection. Good protection this time for Tommy Kramer. He gets time to throw the football. Not setting up real strong. Again, he hasn't played that much, but he waits on Leo Lewis to come into the picture, and he just drills him with the pass, and Leo picks up the 1st down. 19-yard gain for Leo Lewis.
Leo Lewis's father played with Bud Grant, the running back spot in Canada. Member of the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame. What Leo Lewis's hobby is? He collects matchbooks.
Is that right?
Kramer, 1st and 10. Wide open again at midfield. Mike Jones. Bumped out of bounds at the 49 of Philadelphia, and Herm Edwards was there.
The Vikings now are trying to get something going. They are getting something going. And it's happening because they're throwing the football. They got to continue to throw the football. The running game, the offensive line has had problems with injuries, and there's Coach Les Steckel on the sideline. He's got to be pleased with what's happening in this drive, but not with the way the score is.
You see the headset worn by Les Steckel. The man he is talking to is sitting to the booth on our right. That is Jerry Byrne, the offensive coordinator. You want some intense football coaches, take a gander over on your right side.
That's right.
They're grinding. 2nd and 3. Alfred Anderson. Boy, great speed around the corner on the right side. He is very deceptive when he turns it on.
Well, he's so big. When he came out of high school, he was a quarterback and didn't have the size he has now, but through the weight program at Baylor University, he built himself up, and now he's effective as a running back, and he still hasn't lost anything with the speed, and he can get outside. You just got to give him a little room, and when you got a 2nd and 3 situation, give him a little room outside, and he'll pick up that 1st down. 12-yard gain.
Yeah, he just ran away from Reggie Wilkes. You saw number 83 break the huddle. That is Steve Jordan, the tight end. Don Hasselbeck, the 8-year tight end out of Colorado, former New England Patriot, former Los Angeles Raider, is also in there. So double tight end in there for blocking for Kramer. Off to Alfred Anderson. Penalty flag is down in the backfield. Bigfoot Harrison in the vicinity for Philadelphia. Ray Ellis came up to make the hit on Anderson. There's been quite a battle going on between Tim Irwin, 4th year out of Tennessee, the right tackle, and Dennis Bigfoot Harrison, big number 68 for Philadelphia. And I think we might have a holding call against the Vikes.
Well, those are the types of things that takes the wind out of the team's sail. They're moving real well downfield, and this penalty is going to hurt them, put them in a tough situation.
Holding 78. 10 yards, still down.
Don't forget, next Saturday, a big day here on CBS Sports at noon Eastern Time. Our third season of NCAA college football kicks off with a game of the Washington Huskies, the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan coming off that upset over Miami yesterday, and of course Northwestern wiped out by Washington 26-0. Sports Saturday, of course, Thomas Hitman Hearns back in action, and it's the Woodward Futurity from Belmont out in New York, out on Long Island. Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek, Charles C. Canty, and Frank Wright. 1st and 20 after the holding call. Kramer incomplete at the 40-yard line, but penalty against the Philadelphia Eagles. Pass interference.
Good call.
Mike Malarkey out of Florida was there, and Bernard Wilson was picking his pocket.
Yeah, Wilson was, he had his hands all over the receiver, and it was a good call by the official.
Pass interference, defense, number 22, first down.
Well, it's a costly call too, Drew, because instead of 2nd down and long, it's an automatic 1st down.
That's right. It's a big mismatch here. Bernard Wilson's about 180 pounds, and Malarkey's about 233. It's just makes that contact before the ball gets there.
Wilson knew he was beat and went over the top. Steve Jordan, 83, Don Hasselbeck, 88, are the tight ends respectively now for the Vikings. What a different look this Minnesota team has from a year ago.
Yeah,
Dave Casper played tight end.
A lot of old faces not there.
Joe Sensor, of course, out. Their great tight end from nearby here at Westchester State. Mix up now. Tommy Kramer just shakes his head. You can see the frustration. Hasselbeck went in motion, and that might be the inexperience and the unfamiliarity with the system. In any event, the Vikings have got something going. They trail by 9 in a battle of field goal kickers, and so far Philadelphia's had the best of it.
Okay, I'm changing the strategy. I just made a Michelob Light for the winners.
The Vikings scored first on a field goal by Jan Stenerud from 38 yards out. Since then, 4 Paul McFadden field goals, and there where we are with just 54 seconds left to go in quarter number 3. But the Vikings have got a drive going. It's 1st and 10 from the 41 of Philadelphia. Mike Jones to the top of the screen. Sammy White comes down to the near side. Tommy Kramer, after taking a timeout, sends Alfred Anderson across. Unloads. Great catch by the tight end Steve Jordan inside the 30 down to the 27-yard line. Kramer put it on a string, a 14-yard pickup. 1st down Vikings.
Oh, that's got to help the Minnesota Vikings. Great catch by Steve Jordan. Coach Steckel calls him Ivy because he's from Brown University in the Ivy League, and he just goes up and makes these plays. Being a receiver, sometimes that ball comes right into you, but the toughest catches are the ones we're supposed to make, and they're the ones we have to concentrate most on, and Jordan pulled that one in. That's his 2nd reception for 27 yards today.
Well, he's got the good hands. He's a former quarterback, played tight end as well in high school, South Mountain High School out in Phoenix. Missed the first 2 games last year with a sprained ankle, and of course the tight end is so important, always has been in Bud Grant's offense. Remember Fran Tarkington dumping off all the time?
That's right, and they missed the real tight end, Joe Sensor, who's been out with an injury. He'll be out for the season.
1st and 10 Vikes. Time winding down 3rd quarter. Should be the last play. Wide receivers left and right. Jones to the bottom of your screen. Alfred Anderson rambles, barrels inside, hurdles over a couple Eagles, and is bowled down at the 15. Ray Ellis chased him out of bounds. I like Alfred Anderson. He is a very impressive running back, a rookie out of Baylor. That's the end of the 3rd quarter. It's been a battle of field goals. Philadelphia has 4. The Vikings have 1. That's our score. And we'll be back as we pause now for a word from your local station. Along with former Dallas Cowboy All-Pro wide receiver Drew Pearson, I'm Jim Kelly, and welcome back to Veterans Stadium here in Philadelphia. That is Jody Schultz, number 53, stepping in for Joe L. Williams at the linebacker spot for the Eagles. 1st and 10 Vikings. They trail by 9. Motion coming across. Alfred Anderson. Kramer inside handoff to Alan Rice, the other rookie out of Baylor, and he cracks down to about the 10. Jerry Robinson hanging on.
The Vikings can push this ball in the end zone and get 6 points, 7 points with the extra point out of this drive. Then they're going to be right back in this football game. Got a player down on the field, Anthony Griggs.
3rd year out of Ohio State. Played the most minutes of any linebacker for Philadelphia last year. And you know what? He's a neighbor of Carl Lewis in Willingboro, New Jersey.
Is that right? I wonder if he can run that fast.
2nd and 6 Vikings when we come back. Minnesota still on the short end by 9, but they've got a drive going and are trying to pull to within 2. The Eagles medical staff, and they are still attending to third-year linebacker Anthony Griggs down at about the 13-yard line, and he has just not been moving around.
It doesn't look encouraging. The way he's laying there, first of all, and second of all, there's not much movement. He's kicking his legs around. Coach Campbell has to be concerned about losing Anthony Griggs.
Chicago having no problem at all with John Elway, Dan Reeves, former Dallas Cowboy, now the coach out in Denver. And of course, next week, many of you will see the Minnesota Vikings take on the Atlanta Falcons, or the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. And most of you will see the doubleheader game, the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys from Texas Stadium. That's where you got to strap your helmet on a couple of times.
That's right. It's a big game every time the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia's hook up. We kept calling him Anthony Griggs because we couldn't see the number. We seen an 8 there, but the man down was Bigfoot, Dennis Harrison. He's up now.
Now we talked about the battle going on that left side between Tim Irwin and Dennis Harrison. Didn't see the cause of the injury, but he fortunately is able to go off to the sideline under his own power. 2nd and 6 Vikings. Their drive started at the own 21. They've gone 69 yards in 8 plays and knocking at the door. End around. And nobody bought the play at all. Dwight Collins. But Anthony Griggs stayed at home.
Who called that play? You don't run reverses against the Philadelphia Eagles. They are a stay-at-home team. They don't penetrate that much. They're very conservative in what they do. And they pursue well, but they take care of their own territory first. And they smelt this play right out.
Look at the pursuit. Robinson. Look at Kenny Clark, the nose tackle. And staying right there was Anthony Griggs out of Ohio State. A loss of 10. So now they'll go with 3 wide receivers. Terry LeCount, Leo Lewis, Sammy White, all in there for Tommy Kramer. Leo Lewis comes out wide to the left side. Sammy White and Terry LeCount are a slot formation at the top of your screen. 3rd and a bunch. 16 for Kramer. Alfred Anderson, the former quarterback, the Dipsy Doodle. Kramer's all alone at the 10. Touchdown, Vikings.
That's why they call the reverse, to set that play up.
20 yards from Alfred Anderson. We told you he was a former quarterback in high school. And Campbell, the Swamp Fox, he can't believe it.
Well, you expect, that's a good play, a halfback option pass. A lot of teams have that in their offensive system, but when you throw it back to the quarterback, here's Kramer, and you're saying, oh no, why is he handing it off in this situation? And Anderson tucked away, sets up strong, and just slangs it out there to Kramer. Over the shoulder catch by Tommy Kramer, and look at that speed by that quarterback.
Great throw by Anderson, though. He's running right, throwing back across his body, and he had some mustard on it. Jan Stenerud opened the football game with a field goal. And the veteran, a chip shot extra point, rams it through. So we've got ourselves a football game once again. The Eagles have 4 field goals. Vikings with a field goal and a touchdown. It's a 2-point Philadelphia lead with 13:30 left to play. We've got 13:32 left to play. The Vikings on the short end by just 2, but 2 long sustained scoring drives. The difference, the Eagles had to settle for a field goal. The Vikings got 7.
That's right. That's why they're back in this ball game.
Low, wobbly kick. Bounces away from Andre Waters from Cheney State. Penalty flag is down. This one will be coming back. Looks to be a holding call or a clip against Philadelphia. A 23-yard return, but Philadelphia, as they did late in the first half, hampered by penalties, already walking back at about the 15. Here's Jim Tunney. In talking with Les Steckel last night at the Viking Hotel, he really wasn't emphasizing winning as far as his program is concerned. He talked about work ethics, and he's trying to instill a new kind of system with the Vikings and thinks it'll pay off later on.
Well, he's into player development.
During the run back, 10 yards, first down.
As we hear from Jim Tunney there, Les Steckel had mentioned that he's into player development. They even have meetings set up every Saturday morning for the players from business people around the community of Minneapolis, St. Paul, to try to get the players accustomed to the business world and try to take advantage of those work habits he's trying to teach the players.
Eagles need to put some points on the board. They can't sit on a 2-point lead with Jan Stenerud, the place kicker for the Minnesota Vikings. Jaworski will go airborne, first down, pump fake. He wants Kenny Jackson. Jackson open for a moment, comes back, and no penalty call down at the 42-yard line. Jackson was spun around by Willie Teal, but it was incidental contact.
The ball was underthrown. Jaworski pumped the ball, and Jackson made a move, but kind of ran out of Jaworski's throwing range downfield. See on the ISO, there's really no contact there. Teal's trying to grab Jackson, but he didn't get nothing, luckily. And the ball was underthrown. Jackson almost came back and made a heck of a catch.
Privately, some Eagle coaches will tell you Jaworski does not have the long ball any longer. He can still deliver the short and the intermediate range passes, but really can't throw that big 50-55 yarder. 2nd and 10. There's an intermediate down to the 20-yard line, and Michael Haddix, good hands, hangs on, as does Tommy Hannon.
That's a good play for 2nd and 10. It's a safe play. You're in your own territory. You don't want to get too fancy down there. But what it does is create a 3rd and 5 situation. So it makes it realistic now to pick up this first down.
I like what John Spagnuolo said at practice the other day when we talked to him about Ted Marchibroda's offense. He said, in our new offense now, we attack the opponent's personnel, not just the system or spots. We attack specific personnel. And
that's right. That's a key because, you know, a lot of plays, fans think that they're designed to go all the way, but a lot of plays are designed just like that to get some yardage and create 3rd and 7 situations like this.
Eagles need to pick up a first down, otherwise the Vikes will have good field position. Here comes Minnesota. Jaworski under pressure, ducks out of it, loses the football at the 12-yard line. Pile up, and the Vikings have it 1st and 10. Randy Holloway forced the fumble. Robert Cobb right there, Johnny, on the spot as well.
My, how things can change. The tide is really turning here. Great field position for the Vikings. There's a player down on the field hurt. Can't see his number.
Marion Campbell has to be very concerned because just a couple minutes ago, Philadelphia was sitting on a 12-3 lead. All of a sudden, the Vikings get the touchdown to pull to within 2, and now they start to drive from the 12-yard line of Philadelphia. Injured player is Doug Martin out of Washington. Watch Robert Cobb force the fumble, and Randy Holloway is right there to fall on it.
Well, this is what the Vikings were looking for, some pass rush, and they're getting it in this game, and they're putting a lot of pressure on Jaworski. When you feel that pressure come, the quarterback has to tuck that ball and put it away and salvage the play and get something out on the next play.
It is Michelob Light, the rich, smooth taste you can compare to any beer you like.
I thought you were tired. Nope, just thirsty.
Michelob Light.
Time left in this football game. The Eagles have a 2-point lead, but the Vikings, after that fumble recovery by Randy Holloway, knocking on the door. Wide receivers left and right. Out wide to the left side. Mike Jones. Sammy White to the top of your screen. Alfred Anderson. He's got great speed. He has got it down to the 1-yard line. Ray Ellis and Wes Hopkins bumped him out of bounds, nicknamed the James Gang, but they got there too late. Anytime you see a running back with that kind of speed away from your secondary, you got a problem.
Well, you know what the problem is you see Marion Campbell upset on the sideline of what's happening out there. He's trying to get some people in there to stop Minnesota from scoring. But, you know, you don't get a chance to scout a back like Alfred Anderson. You don't really realize he has this type of speed because you haven't seen him before. He didn't play much last week, and they have nothing to go on. But I guarantee you, after this game, the teams around the National Football League are going to know about Alfred Anderson.
The rookie out of Baylor, 13 carries, 92 yards. His first start, he only found out about it 4 days ago, 3 days to practice and learn a brand new position. Great move there on the delay. He gets 1 yard, a tough 1 yard, all on his own because the blocking had broken down. Ray Ellis grabbed him up high, and going down low is Wes Ellis.
Well, the Eagle defense in this situation needs to rise to the occasion and get aggressive down here. And you can see the handoff to Anderson. Linebacker Joel Williams misses him, but the secondary comes up and puts the stops on Anderson after a gain of 1 yard.
You remember the first game you played in a rookie. Were you nervous?
I was very nervous. You know why? Not because of any defensive backs, because we played the Chicago Bears, and they had a man in the middle by the name of Dick Buckus. And he just kind of made everybody on that field nervous. And I wasn't playing that much. I was only on specialty teams, but I guarantee you I didn't even want to go in the field in that situation with Butkus around.
Butkus ever talk to you?
No, thank God.
Did he growl?
He growled quite a bit, and it put some fear in a lot of offensive linemen's hearts.
3rd and less than a yard. Now Ted Brown is in on offense for the Minnesota Vikings. Dennis Bigfoot Harrison, word from the Eagles bench, a pinched nerve. From the 2-yard line, 3rd and less than a yard. 3 tight ends, Steve Jordan, Mike Mularkey, Don Hasselbecker in there, along with Teddy Brown. Motion across by Jordan. Ted Brown dives inside the right side behind Terry Tausch and Jim Huff.
No touchdown, but they got the first down down here, so now they get four downs to get 1 yard.
Greg Brown submarined and went down low, but not before Ted Brown went up over for the first down. Jim Tunney will unstack.
I guess Ted Brown feels a little better after watching Alfred Anderson run the ball. That kind of makes your injuries go away a little quicker.
That leg healed up real quick.
That's right. He's back in there now.
Well, Jim Tunney is called for the chain gang once again. This is a very big series, of course, for both teams, because if the Vikings have to settle for a field goal could win it for Philadelphia. If the Vikings get it in for the touchdown, the Eagles would have to come back with a touchdown of their own to win.
That's right. Well, there's a lot of time left, and regardless of what happens, the Eagles need to get a drive going and get themselves back in the game offensively.
I don't know why we measured that one. That was good by almost a full yard.
Wasn't even close.
Get down in the shadows down there.
I guess so.
That's Alan Rice, the other rookie out of Baylor. Tommy Kramer has 2 rookie backs from the Baylor Bears. He's missing Joe Sensor, his tight end, and he started a 2nd-year wide receiver, Mike Jones from Tennessee State. Quite a change in complement for the team that lined up for the Vikings last year. He's got to get those rookies set in a new alignment. Motion across by Steve Jordan. 1st and goal. Alfred Anderson. Talk about a hole. A moving van goes through there. Tim Irwin, Terry Tausch.
Some blocking on that play. Just clear it out. Is that what the new blocking in the National Football League? That drive blocking. No finesse, all strength, all muscle, all power. Just blow him off the line and let the back find the daylight.
That is his first touchdown. Alfred Anderson's as a professional. Had a great career at Baylor. Running back. High school quarterback. Completed a touchdown pass of 20 yards to Tommy Kramer to pull Minnesota within 2. And he walks into the end zone to give Minnesota their first lead since the opening quarter. Jan Stenerud out of the hold of Steve Dills will try to make it a 5-point Viking advantage. He does. Minnesota leads by 5. Eagles ball coming back. 11:49 left to go. A long way to go, but the Vikings have taken command of this football game.
Sarah, do you get the feeling we're being followed?
Coming soon.
A lot of time left, but the crowd, and you would have to venture the Eagles coaches, are stunned because 2 very quick touchdowns by the Vikings have turned this football game around. It was 12-3, and all of a sudden they look up and they're behind by 5. A high end-over-end kick. Joe Hayes at the 2. Hits the wall at the 20, and had he hurled over that wall, he had a lot of AstroTurf. Penalty flag is down. Walker Lee Ashley, the man that got there first for the Vikings on a 19-yard return. But if this goes back against the Eagles, they're going to be starting back at about the 10. Let's check the call. Jim Tunney is out there, and we'll straighten this mess out.
Let's go, D.
Tunney has spotted the ball at the 22. It is holding against Philadelphia. That's not the way you want to start a drive.
Holding 57, half the distance to goal line.
Lots of action around the NFL today, but following football here on CBS, following yesterday's great semifinal clashes, Connors and McEnroe, Lendl and Cash. Boy, they played all night.
Marathon.
McEnroe and Lendl. You don't think that'll be a spirited match, do you?
Great matchup. Great matchup.
Those two will spit nails across the net at each other.
Number 1 against number 2. Can't ask for more.
They don't like each other a whole lot either.
No, they don't.
They're like the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Well, nobody kind of gets along with McEnroe that well.
Pitch back to Wilbert Montgomery. Gets a good block and then cuts it back to the 12-yard line. A short pickup and a great hit coming across. That was Dennis Johnson. But a man who also came across with a big play was Randy Holloway.
this Minnesota Viking team has hung in there, and now they got the lead in this ball game. And you know, one thing Coach Steckel said last night is that his team last week, even though they were getting blown out, was still out there hustling and playing hard. And it kind of carried over into this game. They fell behind in this game. They still kept hustling, kept playing hard, and now they got the lead.
That's what Wilbert's done this afternoon. He needs 20 yards for Steve Van Buren's all-time Eagle rushing record, 2nd and 9. Eagles need first downs. They don't need yardage from Montgomery in terms of records. They need some first downs. All alone, Montgomery. But he dumps it off. Jaworski gets it to Haddix. Almost looked like a busted play.
Pressure from the defensive front for the Minnesota Vikings kind of disrupted that play a little, and Haddix said, hey, look what I found.
You know, you talked about Les Steckel and the fact he was so proud of the Vikings that they were still blocking and hitting late in that ball game, the blowout to San Diego. He told us last night the wide receivers on the pass pattern, they were even downfield blocking. You buy that?
Well, that's what he was most impressed with, the wide receivers downfield blocking. But I guarantee you, if they were downfield catching passes, it might have been more effective.
3rd and 5, 10-17 left to go in this football game. Not a crucial third down, but certainly a big play for Ron Jaworski now, because they're deep in their own territory and the momentum is shifted to Minnesota. Underneath, Haddix, great catch, needs a blocker, spins off one, fights to the 21, dives, and he is close to first down yardage. I think he had to get to the 21. I think he is just a little bit shy, however.
Good effort by Haddix, but I think he came up short on the play. Might be close enough for a measure.
Jim Tunney, the referee, calls for the chain gang. They're on the near side. Haddix might have just stretched it out. From our vantage point, it looks like he had to get it across the 21, and there's no hash mark because of the 0 numeral there.
Well, you know, a lot of times, Jim, it's the spot that counts here. It's how the referee spots the football. Is it enough? Do you go for it?
About 2 inches.
Real short. You got to punt it away, though. You get too much time left on the clock.
Well, the Philadelphia players were concerned. The coaches wouldn't talk about it, but the players were, because from a realistic standpoint, if they lose this game against Minnesota, they're 0-2. You have to go down to Dallas. The 49ers come in here, and then on the road at Washington. Some Philadelphia players told us privately, said, hey, we could be 0-5.
That's right. And those 3 games they got coming up, those are the 3 top teams in the National Football Conference going into the season.
4th and 2-3 inches. Do you like the call? Do you think if you can't pick up 2-3 inches, you don't deserve a football game, do you?
Yeah, but it's a tough situation. You're in the 20-yard line. You got to punt the football. Too much time on the clock. Great punt.
Horan hangs a high one. Rufus Best backed up to the 27. He's got some blockers. Best to the 35. Chopped down at the 37-yard line, and there is hitting on the specialty team. Eagles and the Vikings fired up a 52-yard punt at 10-yard return. There's a penalty flag down at the 49-yard line of Minnesota. So Jim Tunney will have a conclave with his fellow officials. Fans didn't like the punt on 4th and inches. Now, I recognize what you're saying, because if you don't pick up the first down, you're in a chip shot field goal situation for the Vikings. But when you've got a Wilbert Montgomery and the game's on the line, your offensive line has got to take command. You've got to be able to pick up a couple inches.
That's right. You don't even need Montgomery. You just need a quarterback sneak, and if he can just fall on top of the center, he's got the first down. But in this situation, you got to play the percentages, and that's what Coach Campbell did on this particular situation.
Well, you play a numbers game. 17-12 Minnesota. If the Vikings get another field goal, it's now a 20-12 lead. That's an 8-point margin, so that puts it out of range.
That's right. But what he's doing, he's putting pressure on his defense. He knows he's got to give up that chance to go for the first down, even though it's inches away. But he's putting pressure on his defense to stop these Minnesota Vikings and get the ball back for their offense to have enough time to get a drive going and win this game.
Penalty will hurt the Vikings. Of course, another thing that we haven't talked about is when you do punt it away, there's always the risk of a turnover.
That's right. This Campbell, he seems pretty satisfied with his decision to punt the ball away, because the penalty put the ball back inside the 20.
He's not a stranger to Viking fans.
Personal foul.
Jim Tunney with a call.
Blocking a man out of bounds, 15 yards. It's penalized from where the possession was changed at the 30-yard line.
So a very
Ball
costly.
put in play at the 15, first down and 10.
A costly and long explanation from Jim Tunney. I started to say about Marion Campbell, he's no stranger to Viking fans. He was a coach for the Vikings back in '64, worked on the defensive line, and these names sound familiar. Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, and the Purple People Gang.
They were tough. They were tough. A lot of experience, a lot of intensity. Great front four.
First and 10, Minnesota. They've got a 5-point lead. 9:34 left to play. Tommy Kramer works with the young rookie. And there is a rookie mistake. Kramer spun and there was nobody there, but they maintained their poise and they turned nothing into something. 5-yard pickup for Alfred Anderson, who's got a touchdown pass to Kramer from 20 yards. He's got a 1-yard touchdown walk because the hole was the size of Droop's car.
Well, these are the types of things when you have rookies in the backfield. He starts to go one way, but he's fast enough to come back the other way. And little mixed direction play, and picks up some good yardage on the play. 99 yards rushing today for Alfred Anderson in his first start in the National Football League.
Bad way to break in. Wide receivers left and right. To the left side, Mike Jones out of Tennessee State from Grambling. The 9-year veteran Sammy White, top of your screen. 2nd and 5, Kramer. Go with what brought you to the dance, folks. Alfred Anderson cracks up to the 25. Wes Hopkins on the tackle. Philadelphia, of course, has to get that football back. Field goal doesn't do them any good at all. They need a touchdown.
Well, now Philadelphia has 2 opponents. Number 1, the Vikings, of course, and the second opponent is that clock. They have to work that clock and try to get that ball back for their offense. They don't want to wait there till that clock runs down to 4, 3, 2 minutes and left in the game. They need to get it back now and get those points on the board.
The one thing that one of the Eagle coaches told me was that you don't want to get into a situation where Jaworski has got to take the Eagles on a long drive late in the game. I mean by that in the 2-minute drill, because he just doesn't have that long arm anymore that can get you that 55-yard completion. Alfred Anderson, convoy left, cracks up near the 30-yard line. Joe L. Williams clinging to him.
Well, the Eagles defense is getting tested. They had trouble stopping the run last year. They were way down as far as statistics are concerned. I believe 27th in the league as far as stopping the run. And they're relying on their run defense to get the ball back for their offense. So they got to toughen up and dig in a little better and quit this penetration by stop this penetration by the Minnesota Vikings.
18 carries, 107 yards. Alfred Anderson, but if you're an Eagle follower, it shouldn't come as any surprise because last year there were 8 rushers who gained over 100 yards against Philadelphia. 2nd down and 5. Tommy Kramer looks over that 4-3 front, or the 3-4 front, excuse me. Alfred Anderson getting a little conservative and a little predictable.
Yeah, well, this is going to create a tough 3rd down situation for the Vikings, and this is where the Eagles have to rise to the occasion. Now the pressure's on their pass defense. Can they stop Tommy Kramer in this 3rd down situation?
Final in from New Orleans. It didn't take long. New Orleans 17, Tampa Bay 13. So John McKay's 1984 season starting out the way his 83 season began. Third and 6. 6.5 to play. You know what this means.
Talk about being conservative.
And you've talked about the discipline of the Eagles defense. That time it paid off. Byron Darby, Kenny Clark.
Jim, this could be the shot in the arm that the Eagles need to get the momentum back. You hear the defense there.
How about a difference in philosophy now between Les Steckel and Bud Grant? You never saw Bud Grant that conservative late in the football game. With an offense with wide receivers like Sammy White, Terry LeCount, Leo Lewis, you're going to throw the ball in 3rd.
That's right. Plus, you had a 3rd and 6 situation, so you got plays there in your game plan that are safe passes that you throw to the sideline or passes that you throw. And if there's no receiver open, just throw the thing away and let's punt the ball and hope our defense can stop the Eagles.
That's what Greg Coleman's done, but maybe his most important play was to go over to the Vikings bench and say, wait a minute, we don't have 11 guys out here. Now the 30-second clock winding down. You could see Coleman screaming. On the specialty teams, a mix-up, and Alan Rice, the rookie out of Baylor, has had a good game on offense. Forgot to put his helmet on and get out there.
Well, in Dallas, if you missed something like that, it would cost you about $200. So it's worth it to know what team you're on.
Around the NFL today, we told you New Orleans by 4 against Tampa Bay. Cincinnati trailing Kansas City. Boy, Kansas City offensively has really put it together in their first 2 games. They've got a nose knocker going on down at Fulton County Stadium. Lions lost a squeaker on the last play of the game to San Francisco last week. Tony Clark's not going to have any fingernails left by midseason. Greg Coleman standing back at his own 7. Eagles should have good field position, and another mistake.
Another delay. The clock ran out again. Greg Coleman's clapping his hands, acting like they wanted to do that. I can't see any logic in it. It's going to give the Eagles great field position. And Coleman's not really noted for his distance as far as a punter. He's great at placing the football, but he's not really noted for his distance in his punts.
How about Philadelphia? Do you try to block this kick now, or do you set up the return?
I would set up the return.
They've got it set up on the right side, a high spiraling kick. Cooper will field on the run at the 34, but he was running backwards. Gets a block to the 40, and is knifed down at the 41. Still good field position for Philadelphia. They start from their own 41. And as Drew Pearson pointed out, they've got 2 opponents right now, the Minnesota Vikings and the clock. 5:22 left to go, and you can see the intensity on the specialty teams. Ray Ellis out of Ohio State mixing it up in front of the Viking bench. That's not where you want to start throwing fists.
No, a penalty can hurt. If a penalty's thrown against the Eagles, could put them out of this good field position. You don't want to get in any fights right now.
Don't forget, we've got great tennis action coming up from Flushing Meadows, the finals of the U.S. Open. Tony Traver along with John Newcomb, Pat Summerall. It's John McEnroe and Yvonne Lendl. And after those 2 grueling 5-setters that McEnroe had against Connors and Lendl had against Cash, they've got to be tired.
Well, they got to be tired, especially McEnroe, because his match was later. He played in the evening, didn't get as much rest as Lendl, but I guarantee you with what's at stake, he'll be ready.
First and 10, Philadelphia. 5:22 left in the football game. Jaworski up top to Spagnuolo. Catches it in the midsection and is bumped out of bounds at the 47.5-yard line. Vito Cab, the other tight end, number 84, ran a crossing pattern. Spagnuolo.
Good situation. 2nd and 4.
Haddix in the backfield with Wilbert Montgomery. Michael Haddix. Good blocking left side of the line by P.D. Perot and Dean Miraldi. Charlie Johnson, the former Eagle, made the tackle.
See, when you use that pass on first down, it creates situations like 2nd and 4, and then you can use the run to pick up the 4 yards to get the first down or come close to the first down.
In the 4th quarter, that is a shocker. It was 21-0, as Brent Musburger had reported, and it's still a 21-point lead. Turn out the lights in Chicago. Next week, Irv Cross will view that hard-hitting Chicago Bear defense. 3rd and 1. Montgomery almost broke it. Down to the 44 of the Vikings. Carl Lee made the stop. He was the last man.
Spagnuolo was in motion that time, and Montgomery just followed him right through the hole. Pick up the first down. You can see Big John Spagnuolo coming in motion. And Montgomery takes the handoff. Good explosion off the line by the Philadelphia Eagles. Created a lot of real estate upfield for the Philadelphia Eagles and Wilbert Montgomery.
17 carries, 78 yards for Wilbert Montgomery as he approaches Steve Van Buren's all-time Eagle rushing mark. He needs 14 more. 1st and 10, Philadelphia inside of 4 when the ball is snapped. Sprint out, Jaworski underneath, wide open, Spagnuolo. If he could have broken that, he gets inside the 30, hangs on to the football down to the 28. Rob Sendline on the tackle, a 16-yard pickup for the man who plays Santa Claus at the Eagles Christmas party for underprivileged children, John Spagnuolo.
Again, a nice safe pass to throw on first down. You let your tight end work the areas of the zone. Jaworski a little roll out to get more protection. Spagnuolo, big as he is, tough man to bring down.
7 catches, 61 yards for the former Yale Bulldog, their all-time leading pass catcher. And Spagnuolo, of course, not a force last year, out the entire season with that cervical disc. Wilbert Montgomery wrestled down from behind. Great lateral pursuit. That's Charlie Johnson who got over there. But the first man there, 57, Rob Sendline.
Well, now the pressure shifts to the Minnesota Viking defense. They have to rise to the occasion and try to stop these Eagles from getting in the end zone. And the clock is definitely going to be a factor here as we count down towards the 2-minute warning.
2:45 left to play. 2nd and 5 when we come back. Line of scrimmage, the 23 of the Minnesota Vikings. Jaworski mixing up the short pass and the run very effectively right now. But of course the Vikings are thinking pass, so they're a little bit back on their heels. They're not charging with the same intensity. It's more of a semi-prevent. Jackson right, Hoover left. Quick handoff. Haddix knifes his way down to the 21. Rob Sendline on the tackle Eagles getting a little conservative as well.
Well, Jim, they ran the ball that time because they feel they're in the 4-down territory. They feel that they can use 4 downs to pick up 10 yards in this situation. Even if they don't make the first down here on 3rd down, they'll probably go for it on 4th down. So they have 2 downs here to make 3 yards.
3rd and 3 when we come back. Campbell will talk things over with his quarterback, Ron Jaworski. Eagles trail by 5. Still lots of football.
You can take it home, $1,300.
Drew Pearson, Jim Kelly, our time remaining. The situation, Minnesota leads by 5. The man with a hat on, and you know he's not coming back in, is Mike Quick. And this is the part of the football game you know Jaworski would like to have him in there.
That's right. There's so many things Mike Quick can do. You put him in motion. You isolate him on linebackers, cornerbacks, safeties. He puts a threat to the defense, but he's not in there. We got a 3rd and 3. 2 minutes to go.
From the shotgun. Flood formation left side. Jackson is outside. Hoover is inside. Inside handoff to Montgomery. He's got 2 blockers in front of him. Inside the 20 to the 15 to the 10. Montgomery to the 7.
Good-looking football play. Many times you don't see a team running from the shotgun formation. But that time they gave the inside handoff to Montgomery, and he followed his blockers around the corner and picked up 15 yards and a record.
Maraldi and Perot were the blockers. It's a 15-yard gain, 19 carries, 98 yards for Wilbert Montgomery, and he has just broken Steve Van Buren's all-time Eagle rushing record, and the crowd sees it up on the scoreboard. Wilbert Montgomery, a standing ovation here in Philadelphia.
He deserves it. One of the great backs to play in the National Football League, Wilbert Montgomery.
That's Jim Tunney giving him the game ball. And a class athlete.
Come out and take a bow, Wilbert. You deserve it. Take a bow. Now to make it sweeter, they need to pull out this victory.
Line of scrimmage, the 6-yard line. 1st and goal, Philadelphia. 1:33 left to go. Now the Eagles, obviously, Drew, they would like to score. They must score the touchdown. Do you want to score that touchdown? Let's take another look at Wilbert's play. Watch the blocking here by Maraldi, 64, Perot, 62.
They sped it up a little, but Montgomery gets in there, and boy, he's tough to bring down once he gets a head of steam going.
1st and goal from the 6. Haddock's in with Andre Hardy. Jaworski, pitch back to Andre Hardy. Haddock for the block. Hardy cuts it back. Down to the 2. Go back to my question. Do you want to score that touchdown as quickly as possible? The Vikings then would have about 45 seconds with Jan Stenerud for a field goal that could win it.
Well, you got to go for it, and they're in a situation now where they have to score regardless of the time, and you can't play with the clock. The main thing is to get the ball in the end zone and then let your defense work to stop Tommy Kramer and the Viking offense.
Vito Cab, number 84, checks in at tight end along with Lawrence Sappleton, 3rd year out of Texas. He's in there with Spagnola. So they just have 3 tight ends. They've also got Michael Haddock and Andre Hardy, the rookie from St. Mary's in California. Wilbert Montgomery, who has just broken the Eagles club rushing record, is over on the sideline. Vikings have 2 timeouts left, and the Eagles have 2 timeouts left. This game is going to have a wild finish because if the Eagles get the go-ahead touchdown, you know Jan Stenerud is very, very accurate, and all Tommy Kramer's got to do is work him into field goal range. He's got that 2-minute drill down pretty well.
And Tommy Kramer's a good 2-minute quarterback, and he's got good receivers, good experienced receivers to work the 2-minute drill. And then with a kicker like Jan Stenerud, veteran experience, been in situations like that before, he knows what to do.
About 120 miles away at Flushing Meadow, John McEnroe and Yvonne Lendl facing off. It's the men's singles final, the U.S. Open Tennis Championships, and we'll be going there with Pat Summerall at the conclusion of this football game. Second and goal from the 1. 3 tight ends are in there, along with Andre Hardy, 47, Michael Haddock. Andre Hardy almost lost the football. You talk about a collision. Eagles are lucky he didn't cough it up there.
That's right.
Pearson almost jumped out of the booth.
Boy, that was a hit there. Is that Studwell?
Studwell and Dennis
Scott
Johnson.
Studwell. He lays some lumber here. Watch, Hardy thinks about diving, and Studwell's reading him all the way and catches him in midair and says, no way. Reject.
Mr. Studwell beat Mr. Hardy.
That's
Advantage
right.
Studwell.
I would kind of get Montgomery in there. I would be a little skeptical of having a rookie in this situation.
3rd and 1. 3 tight ends for the Eagles. Pitch back to Hardy. Hardy pulls down to the line of scrimmage, maybe gets a half yard with 15, 14, 13, and quickly a timeout. It'll be that far, about a half a yard.
Excuse me, Jim. Where's Wilbur Montgomery?
Exactly.
I would have to have him in this situation.
He does not
He's
even
the
have
money
his
man.
helmet on.
That's right. He's the money man. We got him down here. Let him take it in for us.
Studwell comes over. Watch Studwell. 55.
Studwell, he sits back there and he reads, and then he creates some penetration, just throws himself in there to make the play, and he gets good pursuit by the rest of the Viking defense.
Ron Jaworski over conferring with Ted Marchibroda, the new offensive coordinator. You liked the call on 3rd and 7 before with that shovel pass to Montgomery that set all this up. And of course, number 55, Scott Studwell, over conferring with Les Steckel on the defensive side of things.
I'll tell you what I like in this situation, Jim. I like a rollout by Jaworski. That way it creates a running situation. If he has an opening, he can run the ball in. He only needs less than a yard. And if he doesn't, he can dump it off to a tight end or a running back coming out of the backfield.
Haddix checks out along with the rookie Andre Hardy. Number 34, Hubie Oliver, is in, and he will block for Wilbert Montgomery. Montgomery is back in. That was the roar from the crowd. Now, do you use Montgomery as a decoy and try to sneak Hubie Oliver in, figuring they're keying on Montgomery?
Well, whatever I would try would be a sweep or a rollout to the outside. Would not try the middle. Scott Studwell,
fourth in the ball game. Gang tackling by the Vikings. Penalty flag is down. This play is not over. It is against the Minnesota Vikings, I believe. Vito Cabb was jumping up, indicating penalty against the Vikings. Here's Jim Tunney.
Oh, wow. It's against the Vikings.
Vito Cabb was correct.
5 yards, face mask against the defense, penalized end of the run.
Face mask against the Minnesota Vikings. 7 seconds remain. The Eagles have 1 timeout. Do you think that former Marine is not ready to suit up himself?
No, it's got to hurt. It's got to hurt. Penalty in that situation.
Watch the face mask as Montgomery sets it up because Wilbert just keeps on fighting. Now he's caught behind the line of scrimmage here. Studwell comes crashing through. Montgomery, though, breaks that tackle. That's the elusiveness of Wilbert Montgomery. Now watch him see if we can pick up the face mask.
Well, the second effort there caused the action. There it is. Right. Well, haven't seen it yet.
5 yards, face mask is penalized from the end of the run, which is the 2-yard line, half the distance of the goal line, first down on the 1-yard line.
Element of that penalty is first down. Now you've got 7 seconds, so they've got 2 plays. If they don't score, because Philadelphia's got 1 timeout remaining. Just a second ago, it was 4th and less than a yard for the football game. It's now 1st and goal. Philadelphia with 1 timeout left.
Well, they're asking a lot of the Viking defense in this situation. They got Montgomery out of the game. Excuse me, Jim.
Andre Hardy is 47. He's the running back along with Hubie Oliver. Jaworski bends in. Play action. Jaworski can run. Jaworski dumps off. Spagnola! Look at Jaworski at the 40-yard line of Philadelphia. He's all the way at the other end of the field.
It's pandemonium here at the bench.
Jaworski threw the ball. As soon as Spagnola caught it, Jaworski ran backwards 60 yards. He was all the way halfway to the tunnel.
He took off the other way.
Spagnola has the football. 8 catches, 62 yards, 1 touchdown, a personal best. Jaworski, 27 of 37, 240 yards, and the winning touchdown with 2 seconds left. Tough loss for the Vikings. Their defense had played so well.
Tough loss. And that goal line stand was just remarkable. You very seldom see it stand like that to finish out a ball game and have it all erased by a penalty. God, it's got to hurt your ball club. They are a dejected bunch, the Minnesota Vikings. And on the other side of the coin, the Philadelphia Eagles, it's got to give them a big boost.
18-17, Philadelphia. 2 Youngstown State Penguins. Jaworski holds for Paul McFadden, and it's a 2-point Philadelphia lead. 2 seconds remain. Let's take a look at the touchdown toss. Jaworski, play action fake to Hubie Oliver. And watch.
Excuse me, Jim. This is the type of play I would have called on that last 4th down situation. How close can you get to getting the quarterback and not get him? And Spagnuolo made sure he had that one. He looked it all the way in that time. Johnny Swain is
great
on
touch on the ball for Ron Jaworski, who sometimes is much maligned here in Philadelphia. He waited for number 88 Spagnuolo to clear, threw it over John Swain, and that was a winning touchdown. Don't forget, tennis is coming up in just a couple of seconds. We've got 2 seconds left in this football game. Then you'll see Pat Summerall, John McEnroe, and Yvonne Lendl. Tonight on CBS After the Tennis, 60 minutes in its entirety. The boys in blue, the Jeffersons, Alice Trapper, John M.D. Tennis is next, and that should be a great match, and Pat Summerall will have it for you. John McEnroe, the number 1 seed, against number 2, Yvonne Lendl.
Well, Jim, we've seen just about everything today. You think we'll see a kickoff return at this last 2 seconds by the Vikings?
I would anticipate a squib kick. They're not going to kick anything too high.
I wouldn't kick it too far either.
Minnesota had regained command of the football game with 2 late 4th quarter touchdowns. A pass from their rookie running back Alfred Anderson to Tommy Kramer. Anderson ran it in from 1 yard out. Here's the squib kick. Clock will start as it's touched. Boom at the 42. Time has expired. The Philadelphia Eagles have defeated the Minnesota Vikings by 2 points. It's been a dandy. The Eagles by 2 against Minnesota. We'll be back in a moment.
Owens Corning, our building products put your house in the pink.
Jim Kelly and Drew Pearson back at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. A tough loss for the Minnesota Vikings, whose defense played so very well. Philadelphia rebounded with that 2-point win in a game that seesawed back and forth entirely late in the 4th quarter. It was a battle of field goals early. Philadelphia had 4 and Minnesota had just 1. The executive producer of CBS Football, the NFL on CBS for the 2nd consecutive Emmy-winning season, Terry O'Neill. Today's game produced by Ed Gorin. Our senior producer, of course, is Chuck Milton III, and today's game directed by Bob Dunphy. And the rest of the people who bring you the sights and sounds and share in that 2nd straight Emmy, the television industry's highest award. Congratulations to all. It's been a good one here in Philadelphia. We mentioned it was 12-3, Eagles on top until midway through that 4th quarter, and then 2 Minnesota touchdowns gave the Vikings a lead that they relinquished with just 2 seconds left on the clock. Jaworski, a down pass to tight end number 88 John Spagnuolo, and that was the winning difference. So for Drew Pearson, I'm Jim Kelly saying so long from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The final score, the Philadelphia Eagles 19, the Minnesota Vikings 17.